AE for live streaming or download the KBC Online app on Google Play Store. Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, ensuring learning no matter what.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
He is Devadatt's disciple and the tax collector of Takshashila. I do not think that Minister Kalatak had even thought about the severity of the situation.
Such a betrayal is unforgivable.
Please give me one chance to prove that I am worthy of being your son.
Going to Takshashila is no less than committing suicide.
Nobody can harm me.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
What you came here to?
I came here to make you see that you're walking in the wrong direction. I care for you.
It's your job to make sure he finds his balance. I can't do anything about that.
Can't or won't.
Kuna base fulani nimegeta hapa karibu sifa na hapa lakini at least kwa bit better. Njala alikamwona.
He's looking good.
Don't you know? He's back.
Wait, he's back?
Yeah.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Didn't tell her that I left you locked up, did you?
I would have loved to tell her that.
What's wrong? Jorge's downstairs. I'm gonna tell him to look for a locksmith.
I have a strong feeling he's threatening her.
What should we do?
I have too many problems to have to put up with your complaints right now. You're there already. Just enjoy the hotel, and then go back to take care of the old lady.
I know perfectly well where you are. This time you're not gonna be as lucky. So tell your woman to be very careful.
I've always loved you. And I will always love you.
El paraíso
In love with Ramon.
Well, that melody you just heard there is our montage, and it ushers us into Good Morning Kenya. How are you doing? Welcome to the program. This is the only way to kickstart your morning, and my name is Samuel Njoroge.
Welcome to Good Morning Kenya. But before I even say hi to people, Sam,
what's up?
Doreen is the Shilamila in this studio. So what are you doing with a flask?
No, you know, it's important to take warm water in the morning.
No, you've not answered the question correctly.
Yeah, that's what I'm answering. It's important to take warm water in the morning. It's like internal medication for your system. It cleanses you, it prepares you for the day, it revitalizes you.
Hot
and I
people
hope
drink
that's not
hot
too
water.
much of English. And it's very good. So you can see what I'm having. Yeah.
Hot water.
You remember that moment of the only way
to start
your morning. Yeah. So that's the reason why I've got it right here with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's allowed.
It's allowed, huh?
It is allowed.
Vindu vilai. How are you?
Bado nasikia hujajibu hiyo swali. Vizuri.
Akujibu amejibu. It's okay. It's satisfactory.
It's probably because I didn't give Doreen's version of an answer. Najua Mluya anakuanga na akiona thamos na kikombe. The mindset. Yeah?
Switches. It switches to something else.
Maybe Doreen, you and I can have this conversation later.
We'll see about that.
Yeah, but you're good?
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning. Right back at you.
All right, so
good to see you.
Glad you are with us. It is Tuesday. What's the day today? The 3rd of November? Yes, Americans go to the ballot tonight on this Kenyan time. It's going to kick off towards the end of this day, so we will be here to keep you up to speed with all that will be happening there with our different programming schedule. And of course, tomorrow morning here on Good Morning Kenya, we will absolutely be those guys who keep you in the know on what is happening in the western side of the divide.
Yep.
But for today being Tuesday, we're going to be having our health segment. And today we're going to be having a rather sensitive discussion and asking those honest, crude, and just trying to find out answers to questions that so many women struggle with, and that this is all about post-miscarriage care. This is a battle that so many ladies fight in silence, and so many of them go through depression because they are not able to talk about how they feel, and they do not know how to go about caring for themselves for one reason or the other post-miscarriage. I will be asking those thoroughly honest questions for you, so we welcome you to share your questions or any comments that you may be having or clarifications that you may be needing when it comes to this whole question of miscarriages. All that will be coming up on our health segment this morning. Welcome once again. I'm Jane Wamboy.
Well, and from my end of things, before I hand it over to Vindu here, from my end of things, it's Entrepreneurship Tuesday, okay? And I will be engaging an entrepreneur who's been in the business for quite some time. He is known as Peter. Yeah, Peter Njane. Yeah, got that right? Yes, Nukweli. That's his name. And he has decided to accumulate a wealth of experience, not only locally, but also globally, and has decided to come back to Kenya and make the necessary investment in as far as that is concerned. Which sector has he chosen? What is the mode of operation in as far as his business is concerned? Those are some of the issues that we shall be looking into in the course of entrepreneurship today. I will also be hosting the chair of the Road Safety Association. His name is David Carrier. It's that season again where NTSA and stakeholders within the transport sector will give us statistics in as far as how we fared on our roads, and also give messages of caution and safety ahead of the festivities that are coming up in just a matter of weeks. So what is the state of our roads so far? How are the numbers, and what are the emerging issues in as far as the transport sector is concerned? That discussion coming your way at 7:30 this morning with me, Samuel Njoroge, and David Carrier, the chair of the Road Safety Association of Kenya.
And before we get to just have a quick look at traffic, Sam, I made you a boat.
I know, I saw that this morning. I was so touched and inspired. Thank you so much. You're just the best, right? Row, row, row your boat. Gentle down the sea.
Brings those memories.
I think I could never sing to save my life. But it is what it is.
But it brings those two memories.
Yeah.
Those two memories.
Gentle down the sea. Yeah. Thank you so much, Jane. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
So why someone's like kufanyia kitu in life?
Okay, now we've gotten there. Unanibaia socks alafu unasema isipokuwa ni mimi. Ungekuwa unatembea miguu tupu.
Kama si Wamboi,
like,
boat ungeionea wapi? Boat ungeonea wapi?
If only you knew.
D, take it away.
All right, now this is our focus this morning. This is actually an image of Likoni Road. I'll be telling you about it in a bit. But for now, I want us to quickly look at the traffic flow on this specific road, because that is our focus this Tuesday. Just trying to see how it is doing, given the fact that also it is one of those good alternative routes, especially for those that are applying Mombasa Road. Remember that anytime we look at this major highway, we never miss, a moment to look at Likoni Road, because it is one of those better alternative routes for those that apply this specific road. And oftentimes there's no heavy traffic on this specific road, which just branches from the southern bypass from Mombasa Road as you're heading over to Likoni Road on the other side of South B. And clearly, as of now, what I can just say about this specific route is that it actually still is serving, its purpose in terms of serving as a better alternative route, because as of now, it is green all through, no traffic at all. And the beauty of that is that this is actually on both lanes. What that means is that when you're leaving Mombasa Road, as you're heading over to Likoni Road, through the other side of Enterprise Road, branching to Jogorod as well, and also leaving Jogorod just from that roundabout, quite a number of roundabouts as well on this road. But just as you leave the roundabout, coming through Likoni Road, again coming from South B, coming from Enterprise Road, Enterprise coming from industrial area, as well as also on the other side of Donholm, all the way using Likoni Road as you're heading over to Mombasa Road. No traffic, moving at a really fast pace. Now, just to give a bit of a brief is that this morning the reason as to why we're looking at Likoni Road is because it is one of those roads where there's still ongoing works, which are expected to continue for the next 6 to 8 months, as it has been mentioned by the Kenyan Urban Roads Authorities. And this is just a project to rehabilitate most of this road and make it easy for pedestrians as well as also for both public and private vehicles. So this is again one of those projects began in September, mid-September, and it's expected to go till around March or May. That's actually the next 6 to 8 months thereabout. So clearly, as of now, they've just given alternative routes, especially for those that are applying this specific route. And I'll be giving you those alternative routes in a bit, because at least for the better part since November, there's been again that gridlock, especially along this road. Also, given the fact that yes, it serves as an alternative route. So you can imagine if it serves as an alternative route, and again there's also gridlock on this specific road, then clearly there needs to be alternative routes for those coming from Donholm, from Jogorod, from Enterprise, as well as also from Mombasa Road. But as of now, at least it's clear ways. So if at all you're coming from Mombasa Road, if at all you're coming, from Mombasa Road going to the city center, then you can use this as an alternative route. And also if you're coming from industrial area, from Jogorod, from Donholm, from Enterprise, and all those estates along Jogorod, probably going to Mombasa Road, then clearly you can also use this as an alternative route, because as of now, clear ways, no traffic at all. So this is how it's looking like along Likoni Road. Remember that is our focus this morning, and this is simply because of those ongoing works. Just like I promised, I'll be giving you this alternative routes in our next link-up segments. Our focus this morning is simply along Likoni Road.
Welcome. We now get started with our In the Headlines segment. Remember, you can be part of this conversation using the hashtag #GoodMorningKenya on Twitter. At KBC Channel 1 is our official station handle. Our individual handles remain at Doreen Arange, at Sam W. Njoroge, at Ray Manyara, and at Jane Womboy. The hashtag once again, Good Morning Kenya. Now let's get to have a quick look at the front pages of the different dailies that we have with us this morning. And I'll start off with the Daily Nation. I have a copy of the aforementioned, and starting from the top, Rift Valley counties to get more MPs if the June referendum is passed. Now, as it is, there are going to be an additional 70 seats that are going to come into play if the Building Bridges initiative does, lead to the constitutional amendment. And as it already stands, the Rift Valley region has about 76 seats in the House. If these amendments are to go through, they're going to have an additional 19 seats in the House, bringing their total to 95 seats, making them having the highest number of seats in the House, and actually nearly a third of the entire number. So if this referendum does go through, they are set to gain massively in terms of House representation. And this also has come to light that it could be a crucial influence when it comes to the appointment of the Prime Minister. Details of all that and so much more, we will be getting to them as we proceed on with In the Headlines. The main story right there on the front page of the Daily Nation: here comes ICC trouble for DP Ruto. Now, his allies have alleged that there is a scheme to revive the Hague case, and this comes after a lawyer who had accused Bensouda of corrupting witnesses to withdraw from testifying in one of the Kenyan cases presented himself to the Dutch authorities and asked to surrender to the Hague, which had a warrant out for him. Now, there are two sides of the divide that have been brought up with this surrender to the Dutch authorities. One, people are saying it might mean exactly nothing, all right? He has nothing to trade and he's just merely putting his affairs in order. Or secondly, it could be that he has come to do a deal and turn on his friends, principal among them being the deputy president. We'll be giving you details of that in a bit. At the bottom there of the front page of the Daily Nation, the far left of this particular page, Uhuru to lead. Hey, Uhuru to read. Uhuru to lead talks on the reopening of schools. A high-level meeting is set to take place tomorrow to decide on the total reopening of schools, a conversation that has had a lot of back and forth from the ministry to parents to all the relevant stakeholders when it comes to this conversation about reopening schools, of course, in light of this pandemic that we are in and the fact that we are experiencing a second wave of COVID-19 infections. I will be telling you the details of that particular story. And finally, there on the far bottom right of the Daily Nation, U.S. elections. Today evening is when the 50 states of the United America are going to be voting today for the next president. On Twitter, someone was saying, who is excited to fire this president like I am? Well, those are just some of the tweets that have already been floating on social media as they prepare to go to the polls today. And of course, there's also been contention about those who are mailing their votes, with Trump saying that, after today, those who are supposed to mail their votes will not be considered valid post-day. And this now limits so many voters, especially those who are far, they are abroad, and looking especially at the military who always vote via mail. All that and so much more coming up in the headlines.
Over 99 million votes cast, you know that? So far. And there's litigation looming over the fate of Texas and the voters in that particular state. And Republicans have filed an appeal as of this morning in as far as a decision that was arrived at by the court, which said that those votes are indeed valid and they should be counted. But the Republicans are not having anything to do with that. So they launched an appeal. So that is also going to be shaping the U.S. election this year, as well as the pandemic, which has hit that particular country in a very huge way, has been the epicenter globally, remember that. And thus, some of the states through which we expect, a lot of fast counting of the votes may not exactly happen this year, and they may take a bit of time. So we will be here to cover each and every event in as far as that is concerned, but I need to draw your attention now to the Standard and what they're reporting. Well, I'll be getting to Paul Gishero a little bit later, but before that, the front page of the Standard is all about the BBI, and the door slams shut as the Great Rift Valley Lodge meeting came to an end yesterday, with that very powerful narration from James Orengo, Siaya County Senator, talking about the intention and framing of the BBI has a lot of inspiration from our national anthem. And they're pictured right here on the front page of the Standard. That is the team that was at this particular resort in Naivasha, talking about now how the implementation is going to happen. And some of these clauses, as we've been telling you, will be amended through legislation. Others will be amended through policy from the executive. But there are those, especially that touch on the executive, that can only be amended through a referendum. And as per the implementation plan that was tabled before the MPs who gathered, and I'm talking about both MPs and senators who gathered at the Great Rift Valley Lodge yesterday, it seems that by June next year, we could be having a referendum. And plans have been set through which this is to be realized, of course, as is stipulated by law. And now it's the responsibility of the MPs to spearhead the collection of signatures to ensure that they are presented to the IEBC. And that now kickstarts the implementation process of the BBI. Now, also from the county's point of view, governors are supposed to spearhead the campaigns for the BBI from a county perspective, and these are the issues that we shall be delving into in the course of time. However, they've been captured in earnest by the Standard this morning. Also on the front page, revealed the plan to recall more learners to school. Remember yesterday, CS Education, George Magoha, was in one of the institutions, I believe it was in Mukuru ECD Center, where he did say that actually children are more safe in school than out of school, because from that spot check, he identified that every facility that enhances COVID-19 protocol in schools has been put in place, and also every child has a mask. Well, that story there covered on the front page of the Standard today. Also on the front page, U.S. elections make an appearance. It's all about Kamala Harris and the effect she could be having in the outcome of the 2020 U.S. polls. That story on page 3 and 12 of the Standard this morning. A word from Safaricom CEO, that is Ndegwa, who says, "I am my own man." Well, we'll be getting to that in just a short while. And lawyer in Ruto ICC case now surrenders. That is on page 2 of the Standard. What is Paul Gicheru up to, and why now? That is the most critical question. After all this time, 4 years down the line, why now? And remember why this story is newsworthy. It's because as far as the charges leveled against the Deputy President and Joshua Arap Sang are concerned, they were never exactly dropped. The court said that they could resurface should new evidence be presented. And this is the man touted to be behind the whole witness. You remember those witness bribery things that were being,
disappearance.
Exactly. So we'll be getting to this story on page 2 of the Standard today. In the meantime, what has the Star got for us doing?
Talking about the case could resurface if new evidence is found. That story has also found its way on the Star this morning, with the main caption just reading, ICC panic in Ruto camp as lawyers surrenders. Of course, I'm telling you which lawyer is this who surrenders and what's next for the Deputy President. This story has also been well fleshed out from page 4 through 5 of the Star. There's still matters to do with BBI on the Star. Just, saying that ODM leader Raila Odinga and the President Kenyatta, actually images of them. And this is after meeting with MPs during a retreat to discuss BBI report. This is at the Great Rift Valley Lodge in Naivasha. This happened yesterday. As I mentioned, yes, there's actually there the image of the president as well as that of ODM leader Raila Odinga. Again, also just saying Uhuru Raila strike referendum deal. DP meets Kamba elite. All right, so again, also be getting details of that in a bit when it comes to matters BBI. What was it that was discussed? Well, again, also what is it that, happened at the DP's camp when he met the Kamba elite? At the bottom end, still that question of whether to lock down or not, and why Kenyans might put price on citizens' lives. This is even as we await that presser that will be coming in, tomorrow from the president. And actually, that's what we have on the Star, this morning.
All right, let's get to the Daily Nation and let's just start with that particular story about lawyer Paul Gicheru. And to just briefly capture what has been highlighted here on the Daily Nation is that this advocate, that is Paul Gicheru, who was accused of corruptly influencing witnesses who were to give evidence back then at The Hague against the Deputy President, Mr. Ruto, as well as Kip Sang. It is now said that he might strike a deal to testify against the DP, providing fresh insights to the 2007-2008 post-election violence that caused the deaths of about 1,200 people and displaced hundreds of thousands of other Kenyans. Now, his arrest warrant was issued back in 2015, and if he is found guilty, he could face maximum of 5 years imprisonment or a fine, or both in the event that he's actually found guilty. Now, when it comes to the DP and the Joshua Sang case, the court found that there was interference with witnesses. Now, with this new development, it is now going to be determined how far, or rather the extent to which this interference went. And in the event that witnesses actually are brought forth, they are going to be recording. They're set to record the statements in what happened back in 2007, 2008 post-election violence, and they're actually going to give a description of how they were enticed to stir up this violence by the aforementioned Deputy President William Ruto and Mr. Sang. And these were the words of one Wilfred Nderutu, who actually conducted an interview on this particular case. Now, when it comes to court appearance, a plea bargain in the case of Gicheru is absolutely possible depending on the information that is going to be offered, because ordinarily, interests of the court will be for him because he's the one who presented himself, because he presented himself to be useful and as the main character when it comes to this case, looking at the interference of witnesses from back then when they were supposed to testify against William Ruto and Joshua Arap Sang. So you can get to read the story, understand it has been written in great detail. We can't get to the flesh of it all at this point, but you can just get to have a look and see how it has been captured on the different dailies this morning.
So why surrender? And why now? 4 years down the line. By the way, Paul Gishero has also, that story is on page 2 of the Standard, and I'll be getting to it in just a short while. As much as he is accused of having done all that, remember, he's also enjoyed government appointments. For example, he was appointed the chair of the Public Procurement Authority. Okay, he later went on to become a member of the export processing zones. And after that, now 4 years down the line, he has decided to make an appearance to the ICC to surrender. So why is he surrendering? What should we expect him to deliver to the ICC? Is this a make or break in as far as Kenya's politics is concerned? And what does this say in as far as the fate of the Deputy President and Joshua Arap Sang is concerned? Remember, their cases were not exactly closed. The trial court did say that should there be evidence that will come up or surface within the course of time, then those cases can be reopened. Will they be? These are some of the issues that we shall be looking into. And remember, Kenya now has a seat at the UN Security Council. Well, let's get to page 2 of the Standard this morning. It covers that particular story in earnest. The return of the lawyer in Ruto ICC witness bribery claims surrenders, and the Hague-based court accused him of being the grandmaster of a well-oiled syndicate which bribed witnesses who were to testify against the deputy president. And Gishero allegedly influenced 6 witnesses in the Ruto Sang case Ruto Sang case, and the trial court was told that evidence indicated that the said scheme was run in a planned manner and with a clear distribution of tasks. Gishero was said to be on top of everything, or the man who was spearheading the interference with these 6 witnesses. So that story is on page 2 of the Standard today. Again, points of note and critical questions that we should be answering at such a point as now, or asking at such a point as now, is why is this happening now? Why did he choose to surrender? And also remember that Kenya now has a seat with the UN Security Council. So we'll be getting into all these and much more in the course of coverage of this particular developing story right here at KBC Channel 1. Dori?
Well, that story concerning matters ICC and the DP actually looks like it's just found its way on all papers. So you'll pick whatever best suits you to get details of that. I won't get deeper into it because my colleagues have well stipulated that. But I just want to move away from that and come back to matters COVID-19, since we're expecting this presser tomorrow. And this is in regards to bars and eateries, where just the main header saying bars now risk closure over abuse of COVID-19 rules. Remember that they were open but only for a limited time, but now it looks like they are abusing this, and just says that now entertainment joints risk being closed once again, and this is to contain the spread of COVID-19 in the country. Bar operators have been accused of abusing existing protocols by operating way past the stipulated curfew hours. We are getting densely populated bars staying longer hours than they are supposed to. This actually is a statement from the Health Cabinet Secretary while he was giving the presser yesterday on COVID-19. And he also just continues to say that our wish as government would be to keep every place open so that business can continue, but clearly there are some measures that might have to be taken. Now, which measures are these that might have to be taken? Does it mean that bars and eateries are going to be closed again, given the fact that they are abusing this COVID-19 protocols? There was again also a statement whereby it's just saying that there's too many accidents happening, especially given the fact that, you know, people get to these bars, they drink, even past this curfew hours, they come on the roads late in the night. So what happens, what actually will happen to these bars and eateries? Well, that's again one of those things that we'll just continue to keep tabs on, try to see when this presser comes tomorrow, what will happen to them? What will happen to these businesses? What does that mean, again, for the economy, given the fact that a leeway was given, but it looks like it's being abused by abusing the COVID-19 protocols? But that's, again, that's just a statement from the Health Cabinet Secretary where he was giving the press yesterday on matters COVID-19.
All right, now let's keep up with that, matters COVID-19. And getting to the Daily Nation is that now the World Health Organization is set to issue rapid testing kits to boost the fight against COVID-19. Now, Kenya will be among the first countries, will be among the first low and middle income countries in Africa to receive this COVID-19 rapid diagnostic test kits as the scientists battle to contain this pandemic. And basically, the whole of Africa will be receiving these kits, will be the first group to receive these kits. And these were the words of the African Director of the World Health Organization, Dr. Matshidiso Moeti, who said yesterday that this deployment of these antigen kits will boost the level of testing in every country and make contact tracing much easier. Now, he said that all low and middle income countries, virtually the whole of Africa, will receive some of these tests and they'll all be made available for all these countries. Now, looking at these rapid test kits, they take about 15 to 30 minutes to actually show if a sample is positive or not, and this is expected to thoroughly change the situation, and especially now that more countries are opening up their economies, allowing movement of people inter-county and even cross countries. And now about 120 million kits will be made available for these low and middle income countries, and they will be sold at a subsidized cost by the Africa Center for Disease Control at subsidized cost of 500 shillings per unit for 6 months. Now, this will help some of the countries to increase the testing rates to be able to be on top or ahead of the situation so that they can control what goes on when it comes to containing the spread of COVID-19. And this also is expected to go a long way, especially here in Kenya, given that the lack of enough testing capacity has been a problem for Kenya as a country, given that out of the 699,000 cases that have been tested, 55,877 have turned out positive, which is about 1% of the entire population of Kenya. And just looking at now bringing it back home is that now the CS for Health, Mr. Kagwe, says each county will now be responsible of taking care of its own COVID-19 patients. There will no longer be cross-county transference of COVID-19 patients to get medical attention. So those counties that are yet to set up their stations for the treatment of COVID-19 should do so immediately. And also those counties that had already shut down their treatment centers are expected to reopen and continue taking care of their county cases that have tested positive of COVID-19. So I think with that, we've come to the end of this particular segment. But of course, you can always grab a copy of the different dailies that we have highlighted, get to see the different stories that we weren't able to get to this morning, get your perspective, understand what is there, then make a decision for yourself in regards to what is happening nationally, regionally, internationally,
specifically,
and beyond.
Generally,
emotionally.
As we take a break,
right.
I'm coming up with David Carrier, the CEO of the Road Safety Association of Kenya. We'll be looking into November 15th. It's a critical day in as far as victims of accidents are concerned. And also, it's that time of the year where we do give messages of caution and safety along our roads. All that and much more coming up in a bit.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Strange vile tunasikizana sahi.
Feeling poa, si ndio?
It is.
Inafaa tu maintain hivi. Me at least nitatry.
Me too.
I can't believe it, that pig locked me in here! Francisco!
Scratch her eyes out so that she doesn't go about looking at other women's men. Look at her, just look at her!
You shouldn't lose faith.
Oh my goodness.
In love with Ramon.
Next on.
See me yummy man, he me really yummy man. See me yummy man, he me really yummy man. Say ooh.
African kings and queens, and the young ones in between.
We love Majesty and we love King Selassie. 100 on the highway, I ain't taking no calls on my struggles in the rearview mirror.
We've been through this before. Once we go through this again, it would be a tragedy if we can't learn from the past.
All right, time for our next link. And now what you're seeing on your screens right now, just as I had mentioned, this is an image of Likoni Road. This is actually the ongoing works along this specific route. Now, this is actually how it's looking like. Now, this project is expected to end around 21st March, or if it stalls, probably around May. It's a project being done by the Kenyan Urban Roads Authorities as well as Kenya National Highways, just to ensure that our roads are better. This is one that began sometime in mid-September. Just as I mentioned, it's expected to take around either 6 to 8 months. What they're doing on this road is expanding this road from a single carriage road to a dual carriage road to make it easy for those plying Likoni Road as well well as just Jogo Lunga Lunga, because it's a project being done along Likoni Jogo Lunga Lunga Road. Just as I mentioned, as it began, it's still an ongoing process. And what this board is designated just to ensure that our roads are better. They mentioned that again, some alternative routes are very necessary given the fact that it's still an ongoing project, and also the fact that around this area, it's one of those busy areas. Just as I'm mentioning, along Likoni Road, Jogo Lunga Lunga, which is actually where the project is taking place, it's around the industrial area. Now, if you're someone in Nairobi, then you can clearly know that around that area is where there's just a lot of activities in terms of businesses, industries, people heading over to those areas. So clearly that is why they've given those alternative routes. And this is one of those roads, especially inside the areas that is benefiting from this expansion process, just away from the major highways in which this reconstructions as well as expanding is happening here in Nairobi and even past Nairobi. So just as I mentioned, this is how it's looking like. And again, it's a continuous process. And I want us to briefly look at the traffic flow on that specific route. If you can remember, earlier on, it was just clear ways, barely no traffic, especially just as you leave the bypass heading over to Likoni, and also just leaving the areas of Jogo Road, Enterprise, Industrial Area, Donholm, still using the same road as you come to the city center, or even just using Mombasa Road as you come to the city center. Now, also why I'm looking at it from Mombasa Road is because it is again one of those good alternative routes for those coming from Mombasa Road as you're heading over to the CBD, and you probably don't want to make with the traffic around Capital Center, also around Bellevue and around Nyayo Stadium. So if you're not yet past the bypass, you can use that as an alternative route, because just from what you're seeing on our map, look at that. So anytime you see this green color, it just means that there's no traffic at all. In fact, it's clear ways moving at a really fast pace. And again, this is still a long Likoni Road, and the beauty of that is that this is actually on both lanes, just as you leave the bypass on both lanes. So as you head over and also just coming back from those areas that I mentioned, coming to enjoy to Mombasa Road. So again, if you're coming from Mombasa Road, you can use this road as an alternative route, branching off to South B on the other side as you head over to the city center, or still use Likoni Road and come to branch off to the other side of Jogo Road. Again, one of the reasons as to why we're also looking at this road is because of that still ongoing reconstruction of the overpass around Likoni Road, which has taken a long time, but at least it's, the way in which it's coming along, it's not that bad. So we expect, that process, that reconstruction process at least to end, sometime soon, given the fact that it has taken quite some time before it even commenced. But away from that, now coming to the roundabout, this is actually the Likoni Enterprise roundabout. As I mentioned to you earlier, it is again one of those busy areas, busy places in terms of business activities, industries, companies along this specific route, and also where this expansion begins actually from that single carriage road to the dual carriage road is from the house of Manji heading all the way to the other side of Jogo Road. So again, we will be looking at some of those alternative routes, but as of now, we don't need to do that because there's no traffic at all, just moving at a pretty fast pace on both lanes, and that's how the situation is looking like along Likoni Road at this hour.
We do appreciate your interaction online. Asanteni sana for choosing KBC Channel 1 and Good Morning Kenya to kickstart your day this Tuesday. My name is Samuel Njoroge, and time has come for us to have that critical conversation around road safety. Come November 15th, it is a day to remember victims of road safety right here in the country. We'll be delving into that, the preparations therein, and what exactly we can expect. But also remember, it's that season where we usually give messages of caution and safety, especially on our roads. December is just beyond the corner, and thus it will be critical for us to look into the figures, the emerging issues in as far as transport safety is concerned, and what we need to consider ahead of the festivities this 2020. My guest in studio is David Njoroge. He is the chair of the Road Safety Association of Kenya. Asante sana for coming.
Thank you very much.
And I just called you David Njoroge, but people know you as David Carey.
Yes.
Yeah. Njoroge ni ile mina jua. But thank you so much for coming. And maybe let's begin with your passion for road safety issues. Where did it begin?
Thank you very much. Let me say it began during Michuki time. Because when the Michuki rules, as they are famous, known, were introduced, I used to have matatus, a fleet of matatus in Ngong Road. And I was one of the people who were opposing the rules. So we were very vocal. We planned for a good strike, which really happened.
I remember it.
Yes, and as I was so vocal, and I was the coordinator of that strike, the whole of Nairobi. We were coordinating that with at that time, our chairman, Kimutai, and Kina Karagasha. And as time went, I had an opportunity to visit State House when there was a launch somehow. And I had that opportunity to sit with the late Miss Michuki. And I was pleading to him, trying to explain that this business of ours, if Mzee, you kill it, I will be done because I can't get a job.
Mbona unatuua?
Mbona unatuua? Then the Mzee eyes were very sharp to me, and then I was even panicking. Why did I visit that State House?
Yeah.
And he was direct on me. And he told me, my young boy, you have that much energy to fight me. And I think I have made a very clear decision that I'm not going back. So my young boy, it's one thing. Why can't you use that energy on saving lives? It's good at your age that you have fleets of matatus. But why can't you use that energy? Make sure you save lives. How many people are dying through this business of yours?
And you know, let's talk about saving lives, David.
Yes.
And how the progress of that has been. Come November 15th,
yes,
it is a day to remember victims.
Yes.
Those who've either succumbed or suffered from road accidents in the country.
Yes.
How is the messaging this year around what are the issues that we are laying priority to?
Let me say, because we have been having this for years now, and the most important thing is we understand, we change our culture as a country. It is sad that when this time comes, we come there, we talk of those people who have succumbed to death, those people who are still suffering, and this has something we've been doing every year.
Yeah.
But the question is, will we continue with this? The thing is that we must change this state to make sure that we have safety on our roads.
How do we influence that change then?
I want to tell you it is difficult, particularly at this time that most of the institutions which are supposed to be working on this, I can say they are like dead. Because what we can see is completely worse than what happened last year. So it's getting worse as days go.
Institutions are sort of dead, and it's getting worse as the day goes.
Yes.
Maybe let's talk about that. Which institutions are these that are sleeping on their job, and what exactly has gotten worse in the course of time?
Let me say the association, our association, was among the lobbying. We were trying to lobby as much as possible to have another body, because we used to have TLB, which was concentrating on only PSV. But we realized that the heavy commercial vehicles are involved in accidents. We realized that we are losing a number of pedestrians. We realized that we are losing a number of these cyclists and motorcycle. So this is why we started, and we got this idea from Nigeria, because in Nigeria they had a body that is FRC, which we changed a bit to NTSA, so that TLB could now cover all road safety issues, not only on PSV, because those were the days everybody thought that the accidents in this country were caused by PSV vehicles. Now, we lobbied and we did lobbying, and it was difficult until we had NTSA. You know how NTSA was vibrant when it came. It was such vibrant, and we could see changes. We were every year having decrease. As the end of every year, we could see decrease of these accidents.
What was contributing to that decrease?
There was a lot of, there was a lot of consultative meetings with the stakeholders. We were not having even time. We used to have meetings in the Ministry of Transport. We used to have meetings with the NTSA officials in their boardrooms, and we were involving every stakeholder. But everything changed. All of us had
changed.
Yes.
Let's talk about implementation. Whatever it is that you used to discuss in boardrooms during stakeholders meetings, were there any implementation hiccups?
Let me tell you, there were some hiccups, but if you involve all stakeholders, then there is the discussion which was going on. We could call the matatu people, we could call long distant drivers, we could involve all other private sector in it.
What was this that used to happen that is now not happening?
Because like now I want to remember when Ndovamuli was there, and I remember always he used to call us and tell us the president have said if we don't, these numbers don't decrease, somebody will lose his job. And then his question was put to us, before I lose my job, all of you people you'll have gone, because I will not like to lose my job. So everybody was eager to make sure that there's something you are doing towards safety.
But you see, David,
yes.
At the end of the day, it's not about protecting a job. It's about protecting a life that has chosen to use the roads to move from one place to another. It's about protecting that victim who could be a victim of circumstances just because something that was supposed to be done has not been done. Has that element been taken care of in as far as a discussion around road safety is concerned?
I want to tell you that that issue is not taken at all, because today what is happening is completely different with what was happening.
Who's supposed to take care of it?
Let me say the government came up with NTSA. And you remember exactly what happened after the accident increased. You remember there were some priests, Catholic priests who died on Nyeri Road. And then our president removed NTSA from the road. They were there now to be policy makers, not to be on the road.
Was that a mistake, though? If we reflect back, because I remember we had that conversation either a year or two ago.
Yes.
Was that a mistake?
One, as Road Safety Association, we would not have challenged our president, but to me, it was a great mistake, because this is the time we were planning to have marshals in NTSA, because like in Nigeria, marshals and FRC, they're answerable to their bosses. Police are there in Nigeria. They're answerable to their bosses, because the most important here is we save that one life, because one life is more important for us. You know, as our president and the people who gave the advice, we were not very happy with that decision.
Were you consulted as stakeholders?
We were not consulted at all. And that is why we've been trying to appeal to our president so that we can have a very strong, vibrant NTSA.
It's one thing to make a mistake. It's totally another for you to make that mistake over and over again.
Yes.
Maybe, as you say, it was a wrong move to have NTSA off the roads.
Yes.
But since then, has there been any progress, if not through the executive, at least through the ministry, to see a review of this particular decision that you say has affected progress in as far as road safety is concerned?
You know, like now when you talk about the ministry, the ministry involved here is Ministry of Transport.
Sure thing.
And I want to ask you, for God's sake, have you ever seen anything happening in that ministry? They are not concentrating on our roads. Road safety issues to them does not matter, because we have seen nothing. So that ministry, as I told you, to us, yes, there is a lot of work they are doing, very important other works they are doing. But towards road safety and saving our people's lives, they don't have that in mind.
Let's talk about Mishuki rules.
Yes.
Actually, stakeholders argue that they're not exactly Mishuki rules. They were always there.
Yes.
It's just that it took Mishuki's intervention to implement them. When you see how the implementation was in 2003, and now we're in 2020, have they had a significant impact on road safety? And Have we sort of shelved them somewhere and we are now doing things anyhow?
Let me tell you, which is very true, Michuki never came with his rules. These were rules which were there. All what he did was to make sure that these rules were implemented. And this is why Michuki succeeded. Because one, he was able to have stakeholders meetings, and we could go through, tell us these are rules, these are not my rules, they are there, but these rules are not followed. The time to follow this rule has come. And for sure, every Kenyan can tell, when these rules were properly followed, we saw the change which was there.
Which is why I will revisit my question earlier to you.
Yes.
Is the issue, as much as the issue could be the institutions and everything else, yes, and stakeholder engagement, I have never heard of an amendment to these rules. So it means there has to be an implementation hiccup somewhere, yes, that is also contributing to the state of road safety or the lack of it on our roads. Where are these implementation hiccups? Who is sleeping on their job, and what needs to be done?
Let me say, no, nothing has changed. The same Michuki rules which were there are still the same rules which are there. And you remember just last year when our Interior Minister, Matiang'i, came strongly and supported those rules, change was there for a while. So it is clearly that whatever the rules which are there are not followed at all. And you can see our culture as a country. Just the other day, the country was opened. Now see what is happening with COVID. So what it means is that these rules must be followed.
Who will do that if it's not the stakeholders in that particular sector? Your association being part and parcel of them, to at least facilitate the implementation of the same, David?
Let me tell you, we are having a very hard time this particular time, because even today, to get to the DG's office is like looking or wanting to see the president himself. It has been very difficult. So when we don't have the goodwill, like when Michuki came, there was that goodwill from the government. And this is why there was that change. And what I want to say is that everybody is responsible in whatever we do to make sure that we save that one life. And if we are all responsible, I want to tell you, we will see the change. If these institutions which are there and people are getting salaries paid from our taxes should be seen working. And this one, we appeal seriously to our president to come up very strong. And those people who are not working, who are not willing to work, should just go home.
Now, earlier on, sometime a year or two ago, when we thought about road safety, it was sort of restricted to matatus, or what I may call public transport, matatus and taxis, and also private vehicles. But with the onset of the border industry, which has become quite vibrant, the conversation needs to be stretched to motorcycles now. And I remember sometime in 2019, we had Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i institute a commission or a group, a team, a task force that was supposed to look into reform within the border sector. We were told that progress had been made. Were you roped into that particular discussion? If you were, what was the nature and course of conversations moving forward? Because we can't ignore the people who are dying from border accidents.
Let me say the committee was formed and everything was done, but to date, we don't know what were the outcome of this, the committee.
The report is somewhere
somewhere lying, somewhere hidden. And we've been asking, we want that report to, because these people are paid, the committee members were paid by our own taxes, and we need that report. And this is why I'm telling you, somebody somewhere is sleeping on this job.
It can be valid, the argument you present to the nation this morning, David, that somebody somewhere could be sleeping on the job, maybe some institutions are not working as they should. However, come November the 15th, we've got families that have lost relatives to road accidents, some that should never have happened in the first place. And we've got an entire day dedicated to remember those victims. The messaging cannot be around blame game. The messaging should be around issues. What issues will you be presenting to these relatives of the victims, to those people who still sustain injuries to date, and their quality of life was affected probably for the rest of their lives because of that accident? What messaging will be around the issues on road safety on November 15th? And I'm asking you as a stakeholder.
Let me say, and I want to repeat like last year, we had the same, and the theme was my body has no spare parts. All these things were said, or well said than done, because all the measures which were said will be taken were not taken. And that is why we are saying today it is very sad. Like today in our country, like every family, there is a grave there outside caused by our roads. There is a family member who is suffering from these road accidents. And this has been, now we are waiting for the time to come, and then we come, we bring the victims, they will tell us what has happened. But what I'm trying to tell you, unless we take proper measures, every year we'll have these victims.
Which are these measures?
We don't have to add any other measures.
They're already there.
They're already there.
So it's the implementation.
It's only the implementation.
Good. Now we are talking. Now we are talking, David.
Yes.
Because the law is clear. We say that in this country. And the law is there. The policy has been put in place. Institutions have been formed. So clearly the problem goes beyond that. You say there's an issue with stakeholder engagement. Yes. When was the last stakeholder meeting you had?
I think the last one in the ministry is when before Duvamuli was removed from that position. We used to have meetings even with the CS. We have never visited even the Ministry of Transport. We forgot about the boardroom. From there we came now, we were pushed to NTSA boardroom, whereby I think the last time we had a meeting is again before the former DG left. From that time, we have never had any meeting, and the meetings are not there at all.
But the chaos continues.
And the chaos continue. Our people continue dying. Blame game is there.
What are the figures currently?
We are talking of 3,000. We have already reached the figure of 3,000 at this time. And we are not yet here. We know very well the month of December, we always count from 500 to 600. So this means that this year we'll be rating a figure of from 3,500 to 4,000 people who will have lost their lives. And let me tell you, because this is a mistake we normally do. The numbers we are given are those people who die on the road on the spot. But we are not given the numbers of those people who die in the hospital, who don't make it. We have never been given those figures.
Or even at homes.
Or even those who die at home.
There are those who are hit, they develop internal bleeding, they go back home, but they don't wake up in the morning.
So those figures are not there. So particularly this time when we are talking about 3,000, those are the figures we've been given. But to us as a Road Safety Association, we are saying that number is over 5,000 people have lost their lives in this country. And we have more than 10,000 people who will never walk again, who are permanently disabled by our roads. So it is a serious issue which should be discussed seriously. And it should not be an issue whereby we see, like the last time when the figures were given, that it was at 2,600, road blocks were put everywhere. Road blocks everywhere. There was the announcement. Now the Akobro is back on the road. What is happening now? We are always very ready to act when things have happened.
Have we taken care of Salga? Have we taken care of Sachangwan and some of these black spots that
The only one black spot we have taken care is Nithi Bridge, which used to kill so many people of ours. And it was very simple. It even costed the government as little money as it costed. And we forgot about Nithi Bridge today. But when you talk of Salga, you talk of all the other black spots. And I want to tell you this. It is only in our country we have black spots. Because one, who are these people who are employed? Why don't they come up with proper audits? Why do you have to call that place a black spot?
I would like us to wind up this interview with a challenge to you, David.
Yes,
because you are the chair of the Road Safety Association of Kenya. Engage your fellow stakeholders and make sure that the next time you are presenting a case to Kenyans, we're giving them solutions and progress. Because that conversation can be very hurtful to someone who's watching this morning and they feel like the only thing that has happened within this sector is a lot of blame game and trading of responsibility. So I would like you to leave with that challenge, David. Respectfully so.
Thank you.
The next time we have this conversation, let's give solutions. Let's give guidelines to Kenyans in as far as progress of these talks is concerned and making sure that our safety on our roads is enhanced. My name is Samuel Njoroge, taking a break. Thank you, David, for coming. We'll interact more in the course of time. We are taking a break, but when we return, more from Good Morning Kenya.
KBC, in collaboration with the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, is broadcasting enhanced out-of-class learning on radio, television and online. Catch the lessons every weekday on KBC Channel 1 from 2 to 4 p.m. on KBC English Service and 15 FM from 9:15 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Radio Taifa from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. KBC English Service, Radio Taifa and 15 FM are also available countrywide on the free-to-air Signet digital TV platform, or log on to www.kbc.co.ke for live streaming or download the KBC Online app on Google Play Store. Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, ensuring learning no matter what.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
He is Devadatt's disciple and the tax collector of Takshashila. I do not think that Minister Kalatak had even thought about the severity of the situation.
Such a betrayal is unforgivable.
Please give me one chance to prove that I am worthy of being your son.
Going to Takshashila is no less than committing suicide.
Nobody can harm me.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
What you came here?
I came here to make you see that you're walking in the wrong direction. I care for you.
It's your job to make sure he finds his balance. I can't do anything about that.
Can't or won't.
Kuna base fulani nimegeta hapa karibu, sifa na hapa lakini at least kwa bit better. Njala alikama umeona?
He's looking good.
Don't you know? He's back.
Wait, he's back?
Yeah.
We are still looking at what is happening along Likoni Road in terms of traffic, and I just got this. I want to show you the specific areas where this expansion process is taking place, given the fact that Likoni Road begins just as you leave the Southern Bypass. This is along Mombasa Road. Actually, this is that area. So leaving Mombasa Road, coming all the way to Jogoo Road. This is actually the stretch of Likoni Road between that bypass, away from Mombasa Road, coming through that road all the way to Jogoo Road. But it branches off to different other roads. So it branches off to Enterprise Road as you head over to the other side, coming all the way to Uhuru Highway, and also to the other side of Enterprise Road as you head over to General Motors on the other side of Mombasa Road. From that stretch, again, branching off to Lunga Road, just from the House of Manji as you head over to Lunga Road, and then also going all the way to Jogoo Road. Now, where the expansion process is taking place from the single carriage road to the dual carriage road is actually the stretch still along Likoni Road, but the stretch between, just as you leave Lunga Road from this specific area, from the House of Manji all the way to Jogoo Road. So this stretch that you're seeing on this map over here, this is actually where this expansion process is taking place. So it's not the entire Likoni Road, but just from the House of Manji as you leave Lunga Road coming to Jogoo Road. That's why it's dubbed as Likoni Jogoo Lunga Road, where the expansion process is taking place. And now again, to recap to our viewers, this expansion process began sometime mid-September. It's expected to go till the 21st of March, or if it stretches all the way to May. So it's a project that is expected to take between 6 to 8 months. So this is actually what just shows how the road has been closed since that mid-September, just showing the closure of the roads, and also the different bodies giving alternative routes, especially for those using this specific route, going about their businesses, going about, to industries, given the fact that it goes all the way to industrial area as well. Now, in terms of the progress of this expansion process, this is how it's coming along. At least some beams have already been installed or erected, just again to ensure at least that expansion process comes along well. Again, this has become one of those busy roads, just Likoni Road, given the fact that yes, there's this expansion of the same road, as well as also the overpass, which has taken quite a while, but at least that project is coming along well. Now, what again has been mentioned by these different bodies is just to make it easy for pedestrians, as well as also those that are using vehicles, either public or private. So this is why they are expanding most of these roads, and also in some areas trying to better install the footbridges, and even in others trying to better install the overpasses, just again to make it easy. But at least one thing they haven't mentioned is whether or not the NMT will be inclusive, because at least what we know as of now, when it comes to either expansion of roads, recarpeting of roads, whether it's a new road or just a road earmarked for either of these processes, what they mentioned is that all these roads will have the non-motorized transport system, so that it just doesn't cater for vehicles but also for pedestrians. They haven't said anything in regards to this, but we'll be keeping tabs to try and see how this process comes along, and also whether that will be inclusive, because then again, there's been a lot of complaints, especially for pedestrians, just saying that most of these roads lack that. And even for those that they already have the NMT, there's tendencies for vehicles to encroach, and even for businesses to encroach on these specific areas. Now, very briefly on traffic flow on this specific area, given the fact that at least there's been a bit of closure since that mid-September, and this specific closure of this said road is expected to continue till those months that I've just mentioned, which is around March 2021, or even going all the way to April. But in terms of traffic flow, at least not that bad as of now. Doesn't really look that bad. I'm just seeing clear ways all through still on this specific route. This is still around Likoni Road. However, I'm seeing a bit of a gridlock around the roundabout. We'll be coming to that in a bit, try to see if we'll be needing some alternative routes, given the fact that there's a bit of a gridlock around this roundabout. But at least as of now, this is how it's looking like in terms of traffic.
Thank you so much, Doreen Orange, for that. Trust me, we shall be linking up with you during your next link-up segment. Yes, we shall do that. Doreen would like to know more of what is happening on our roads. In the meantime, thank you for keeping us company right here at KBC Channel 1. And in case you're just joining us, welcome to the only way to start your day. My name is Samuel Njoroge. Have you ever met someone and you have a discussion with them for 5 minutes and you just feel inspired just because of what they're doing and the quality of choices they have embraced in their lives and the transformation that has had as a ripple effect. That is the story of Peter Ongera. Okay, should be Ongera. He'll tell us why it's not Ongera in the first place. But he joins me right here in studio. He has been a mentor. He has trained, coached, and mentored at the Mentor Capital Network of USA and Reasonable East Africa, Roward of Bahrain, and We Create Kenya. He'll be telling us all about that. I'm also catching up, guys, so join into the bandwagon and feel free to send in your questions, hashtag Good Morning Kenya at KBC Channel 1. He will be sharing with us his social media platforms. Let's talk, let's engage. It's Entrepreneurship Tuesday. We're here to inspire and transform. Peter, welcome to the program. It's a pleasure to have you right here on Good Morning Kenya. Just briefly talk to us of why it's no longer Ongera. It is Ongera, as much as it's supposed to be Ongera.
It's part of entrepreneurship.
It's part of the process.
What happened is that when I was doing my primary school certificate of primary school education, that's KCP, in 1985, we had boxes that you had to fill out the letters of your name. So I had a box for P, E, T, E, R.
That was fine.
That was fine.
Okay.
There was a box for O, N, G. Apostrophe was not there. So if you had to put an apostrophe, it would have been Ongera.
Exactly.
So I skipped that with advice from my supervisor, and it became Ongera. But otherwise, it's Ongera.
And since then?
And since then...
here we are.
Here we are.
Which is a critical lesson. If you're given lemons, please make lemonade. All right?
Yes.
But tell us a little bit about yourself, Peter.
Yeah. Very humble. Always willing to inspire before I expire. I started off as, say, a guy who does things out of the box. Yeah. I was selling sweets when I was in class 4. I was selling sugarcane when I was in class 4 or 5 there. I was selling fruits and vegetables while having school holidays in primary school. In secondary school, I did the same. In college, when I was at Egerton University, we used to get what we call boom. That was student allowance. It was 1990. I used all that money to buy a camera, which I used to take photos of activities going around the school compound, the university compound, over the weekends when other students are partying and having, photos taken. I would take photos up to night time.
Yeah.
Then in the morning, I rushed to the nearest studio, which was Nakuru, developed the photos, and I'm back to college. By the time they're having their breakfast, I have photos ready for sale. So, and that really kicked my life off the ground. Then I also started getting into freelance journalism and went abroad. I went to Japan. When in Japan is when I was in a program whereby it was mandatory for us to do homestay. Homestay is where guests stay in people's ordinary homes, away from the hotel, so that they can learn more about culture, they can learn more about the way of life.
It's like integration.
Exactly.
And assimilations too?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was mandatory for the program participants to take part in homestay.
Put a comma right there.
Or apostrophe.
Or apostrophe.
Yes.
I thought you should have been a journalist, even from the way you're presenting yourself. So let's talk about your days as a freelance journalist and how that impacted the person that you are today, Peter.
Yes, I got in journalism simply because I told you the story of me taking photos around college. And then my university had a program where they were training journalism students to write stories about student affairs. I was one of those. And I started off by writing for the university publications. And then later on, I remember quite well, there was Kenya Times publication.
Yeah, back then.
With the school times. They were also looking for correspondents to write stories from colleges and universities. And it was easier for me to get that appointment.
Because of the experience and all.
Because of the experience. And then on and on, I was writing stories about people, I was writing stories about projects, people's success projects and stories. Then I said, okay, these guys are solving problems which I can solve. Why talk about them when I can be talked about? And the simple things they are doing, the simple ways of thinking out of the box, which I call entrepreneurship, is what put me into that platform of entrepreneurship. I never left journalism. I can be a journalist.
Even right now, I feel like presenting a script to you. You know, there's a lot of, I'm very sure you know the Oyers.
Yes.
There's a lot of that even as you speak, but I won't even dare compare you to them. It's never fair, we are told in this industry, to compare one person to the other. But let's talk about now you having your homestay in Japan and how that particular period now influenced the person that you are today.
Now, I went back as a journalist and asked, why are we doing homestay? And are you getting paid for this? My host mother and father, my host mother would talk English. The father and the kids could not talk English. It was Japanese. They told me, no, it's the government that pays us for you to come and stay here. And I said, wow, here is a business opportunity.
Okay.
So, and when the program ended, I came back to college, and
here in Kenya?
In Kenya, at Egerton in Nakuru. And the very first people who showed interest in my homestay business was my lecturer and my host family in Japan. They said, now, we would like to come to Kenya and stay with you. And, you know, homestay is cheaper than hotel stay.
It's true.
And again, it's enriching more than the hotel. Because right now, if you went to a hotel, the only interaction you can have is with the hotel staff by saying hello, how was your night, how was what.
And the occasional smiles here
exactly.
and there.
And they cannot tell you about their families, how many kids they have.
Culture
and all that. So I had to host the Japanese, not in my home, because my home is several kilometers away from Egerton University. So I asked one lecturer to host them for me. And the lecturer agreed, but he couldn't know how to charge. He couldn't know what to do. I simply told him, just be yourself. They might not like what you think they would like. Have them have ugali and skuma wiki and, you know, traditional food. And they came, they liked it very much. They went to Masai Mara, came back to the lecturer's house, and it came to a point of now payment. The lecturer doesn't know how much to charge. And the host, the guests don't know how much to be charged. So I became the
intermediary?
Exactly. Now that is the business. So the lecturer asked me to charge them. And I said, okay, fine. How much would this house cost per month? The figure was there. And I gave them that figure, which is very cheap, reasonable. Then, you know, that figure divided by the number of guests. And then now the lecturer was like, how much do I get to pay you for this service? Then I did my 10% commission. And the guys who were paying, the guests also they asked me, how do we pay you for this kind of service you've rendered?
Yeah, for the connection.
For the connection.
The connection fee.
Exactly. So that connection fee is the start of my business.
How long did this go on?
It went on in 1994, throughout 1994, because, you know, when guests go back, they go back with memories.
And referrals.
In photos and all that, and referrals. So I kind of became the Mr. Tourism, the unofficial one.
Practically so.
While doing my undergraduate. And then they kept on coming, because it's cheaper for them to be hosted in someone's house.
And there's a point person anyway.
Exactly.
You don't need all the stress and hassle.
You don't need a travel agent. And those days, we didn't have travel agents who were doing homestay accommodation. So I would rather say probably I was the first one to do this kind of business.
All right.
Yes.
So that was your tenure, or your phase of life through undergrad. Talk to us about, first of all, what did you study for undergraduate?
Wow. Philosophy and sociology.
Philosophy, sociology.
Yes.
And you already have an experience with journalism a bit.
Exactly.
And you're an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Clearly. So let's talk about your life after you've graduated from Egerton. What did you do next?
Now, after, you know, money is very sweet. And again, as entrepreneurs will tell you, they like changing lifestyles. They like thinking out of the box. I did a little journalism, but then in 1996, I had a chance to go to Canada on an exchange program. And what I did in Canada, I refused to be hosted in a hotel. I requested for a homestay. So, and I got
Ikitu ilikuwa imekuingia kabisa.
Inaingia.
You have to own it.
Yes. So, at least in Canada, let's say in the developed countries, they have homestay facilities and all that. So when I requested the organizers of the program about homestay, they were excited. So I got into Montreal. It's called Montreal.
Yeah.
In Canada, I got into homestay. My aim was to expand and expose myself and become the agent of homestay in Africa, the agent of homestay in Nairobi. So after I finished my program, I came back to the country, and the same trend, like from the Japanese hosts and guests to Canada, I got inquiries about how can we do homestay in Nairobi, in Africa, in Kenya. And there I was as the link person. So business went on and on, and I was getting now invitations to talk about that model, that business model. How
must have been exciting.
Very exciting. And I can tell you for sure, I have never paid airfare. I've been to almost 30 countries, talking about entrepreneurship, talking about capacity building, talking about thinking out of the box, creating solutions to problems.
But as far as travel is concerned, your seat is always reserved.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you don't have to do the hassling.
No.
Never ever.
Never ever.
So you've gone to Canada. You've
come back from Canada.
You've come back. You're right here in the country, and you've begun expanding your tentacles.
Yes.
Getting to talk to people about it as a business, and actually becoming a point man in Kenya in as far as homestay is concerned. How did your life get influenced by this phase of your life?
You see, the good thing with travel and exposure to other cultures and people is that you tend to have more information, you tend to have more knowledge, and you tend to be creative. So what I did is to get into universities. Universities are very good places for one to start businesses. I did that. So I got into explaining my program to US universities to bring their students to Africa for exchange programs. There are those who are bringing their students to Africa, but they would put them in students' hostels. I changed that. I said, no. Now what you do, I went on to identify homes that would host students.
And I mean, it's the essence of an exchange program.
Exactly.
Get the entire package, not just the knowledge of books.
Yes. You can have a student at the student hostel, but then you have this roommate take the student to his rural home to harvest coffee, to harvest maize, and do whatever kind of cultural activity that goes on in that community.
To experience magical Kenya.
Exactly. Yes.
All right. So at this point, you've started now networking with universities abroad to bring their students to Kenya to do the exchange program. Were you working with anyone, say government or the ministry at this point? Did you have partners?
Interestingly, homestay concept was not known. In fact, you would go to any ministry and they ask you, are you a travel agent? What are you providing? What are you doing?
What is
are you a hotel? Are you a transport company? So they failed to locate or to put me in some place. So all I did was just to depend on non-government organizations that understood this concept and the universities. And you know, most of my clients have been students on long-term. They come for research, they come for exchange, they come for studies.
Yeah.
So government, and you know, government is people. These people don't understand it. In fact, when you go talking to a government official, he tells you, oh, I need those ones in my house. So you go there, asking for help, they tell you, no, you see now, bring those guests into my house.
And now you feel like you've been put in a spot that is a bit uncomfortable.
Right. Yes.
All this time you were doing this, did you have like a registered company, or had you enlisted yourself as an agent providing these services?
Yes, I did register my company in 1994 after coming from Japan in August, on my birthday actually, August 15th.
Okay.
It's called African Homestay and Safaris.
All right. Yeah. And the whole traveling thing, connections, expanding your business, did it have any kind of effect on your personal life? as Peter?
Yes.
Be positive or negative?
Yes, yes, and no. You know, when you're starting your business, it's a new business. It's very hard.
A new concept.
Yes, it's really very hard to market it. And again, in this kind of business, more people are willing to host, but very few are willing to be hosted. Because one, people see money. They see the dollars. And those who are coming in to be hosted are looking for safety, security, and all that. And again, for example, you find that people, when you tell people I'm bringing tourists to come and stay in your home, they would like to make changes to their lifestyles, make changes to their bedrooms, their kitchens.
Wasichome picha.
But hiyo picha ndio inatakana.
Hiyo imechomeka.
Hiyo imechomeka inatakana. In fact, if you went, for example, to Japan, you'll be very happy to be taken photos against some shrine, not a pro box.
Makes point.
Yes. So when a tourist comes over here, he would rather be taken photos in a hut, in a house that is made out of clay, not the very fancy upper hill houses. But, you know, they have better houses.
Yeah.
They even have better facilities. So they would rather have their photos taken away from the towns, very far away, with people walking without shoes. And
how sustainable is it for you, though? Because times are changing.
Yes.
The world has slowly turned into this global village.
Yes.
People can now easily interact through social media. I can interact with someone's culture too through that particular platform. How has that impacted your business and your enterprise?
You know, in any kind of business, you're able to navigate. You have to be innovative. For example, what I'm doing right now is part of my business, to teach people how to do business. I have done business training, I've done business coaching, I've done business mentorship. So you don't have to get stuck in one kind of business. For example, if you're a newspaper company, for example, once you have taken your newspapers up country, why do you have come back with empty van when you can do courier? You can get some stuff, you can get cargo delivered from a country into the big city. For example, if you have a school and there's COVID, you don't have students in the school right now. What you do, can't you convert that into something else? Okay? So as an entrepreneur, you need to think and provide solutions. You have to be creative. In fact, as I tell people, entrepreneurship is not for the, like people think it's a concept from somewhere that is hidden. Yeah. Everybody is an entrepreneur.
But it sounds very bougie, entrepreneurship.
It
sounds like it's this huge thing.
Huge thing that is scary.
Kitambo tulikuwa tunawaita businessmen. Siku hizi tunawaita entrepreneurs.
There is a slight difference between entrepreneur and a business.
And we'll be talking about that.
Yes.
Is the reason why I've triggered that line of thought.
Yes.
As well as, let's understand what socio-entrepreneurship is concerned, what is a socio-enterprise, and things like those. Those are the things that we'll be understanding immediately after this break. We continue the interaction online at KBC Channel 1.
That is when we've seen the support of Equity, because the loan which I took to pay teachers, it has been rescheduled to 2021.
Next on.
Nimsubiri nini? Mimi nachelewa.
Tushamalizana? Tushamalizana?
Sishia.
Si ndo mimi namweleza mzee kukodisha suti ndio hiyo. Mimi nakwambia jana ungeniona yani nilipokuwa naipiga mwenyewe nilikuwa nimeng'ara kitu kuruka.
We are not going to stop because there is corona.
all kind of things about ya.
With them on, just shake up. Need to mush you and done to mush you. Wine your booty, girl, show me now.
Baby, one time, bossy baby, give me 2 times. Beautiful 180, crazy.
Trago y ella la botella. Let's go.
Ha, I needed some with some bop in it. Mamacita, where you at? I've been trying to reach you.
Choro, 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 choro. Te pago, te pago, mo, te pago.
Katoto shepu awe, ayawe, ayawe.
Tekenya katoto, kamini tekenya, tekenya katoto.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Didn't tell her that I left you locked up, did you?
I would have loved to tell her that.
What's wrong? Jorge's downstairs. I'm gonna tell him to look for a locksmith.
I have a strong feeling he's threatening her.
What should we do?
I have too many problems to have to put up with your complaints right now. You're there already. Just enjoy the hotel and then go back to take care of the old lady.
You know perfectly well where you are. This time you're not gonna be as lucky. So tell your woman to be very careful.
I've always loved you. And I will always love you.
El paraíso
In Love with Ramon. Next on
See me yummy man, he me really yummy man. See me yummy man, he me really yummy man. Say ooh.
African kings and queens, and the young ones in between.
We love Majesty and we love King Selassie. 100 on the highway, I ain't taking no calls on my struggles in the rearview mirror. That's the burn.
We've been through this before. Once we go through this again, it would be a tragedy if we can't learn from the past.
I'm very sure you picked up on the cue of the difference between a businessman and an entrepreneur. That is where we'd like to begin our discussion with Peter Ongere, who is quite a man who has done a lot in as far as mentorship, coaching and training is concerned. When it comes to entrepreneurship, he's sharing with us his journey, his experiences, and what exactly has led to him being the man that he is today. Thank you so much for your discussion and your feedback online. Keep them coming in. They form part and parcel of the discourse that we are having this morning right here on the only way to start your day. Good morning, Kenya, with me, Samuel Njoroge. Peter, thank you so much for your time this far. And I would like you maybe to begin by telling us or letting Kenyans know the difference between a businessman and or a business person and an entrepreneur.
Quite simple. An entrepreneur creates opportunities, creates ideas, creates businesses. So a businessman is a product of
an entrepreneur.
Exactly. And if you believe in God, if you're a Christian, God is the first entrepreneur. He created heavens and earth from nowhere in 6 days, including man.
Let there be.
Let there be. Let there be. Let there be business. So this is the entrepreneur creating businesses.
So you have to create the bee.
Yes, exactly. And an entrepreneur can be a business person, but rarely do business people
become entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Is it that because they do not grow, or they fail to diversify and look at things from a different point of view?
Entrepreneurs would like to cause change and maybe make profit. A business person is out to make profit. That's the difference. In fact, as you asked, there is social enterprise, which is really to solve a social problem, like poverty, like provision of water and all that. But a businessman is out there to sell, make a profit.
So once they have the water, they sell it.
Exactly.
But the entrepreneur's job is to figure out how the people there can access the water.
Exactly.
And that becomes the opportunity for growth for them.
Yes.
This term has been traded a lot, especially lately. I'm a social entrepreneur. Who is a social entrepreneur? And what do they do?
A social entrepreneur is somebody who gets into a process that provides a solution to a problem that affects the whole society at one level. For example, water provision. If, let's say, you have, like now we have COVID, social entrepreneurs come in this sense. Don't forget we have COVID-preneurs.
Oh, yeah.
They're there. Those are not entrepreneurs.
They're preneurs, but they're not entrepreneurs.
Those are crooks. Those are crooks. Now, there are people providing solutions. There are people, for example, look at Zoom. People are doing online classes. There are those who are doing those online classes at a profit. Some of them are for free. So those who are providing free education online, all you require is data bundles. So that is a social entrepreneur. The one providing free classes is a social entrepreneur, providing a solution, free online classes. But this one, charging you to join their class, is a business person.
Is a business person.
Yes.
Young people argue that the environment has become very competitive. They argue the environment has become quite saturated. In fact, some argue there is nothing that has never been done before at this time and age. What message do you have for those with that line of thinking this morning?
You know, the problem is with our kind of education. We were taken to school to work hard, do exams, pass exams, and work for someone else.
And we were told that it is entitled to us.
Yes.
That once you finish,
you'll get a job.
You get a job.
And we were told, youth are leaders of tomorrow. I can tell you quite frankly. You can lead even now.
Without being elected.
Exactly. People are looking at government. Government might not provide jobs. Government only provides an enabling environment. Because we cannot have more than 20 county commissioners, for example, in one county.
That's true.
Exactly. And again, some of these government service can be done online. So those who are in the business of online, digital space, are the ones who are going to make it. We cannot say that everything has been done. Don't we have problems? We do have problems. We have not solved our problems. So we have problems now and in the future. We have problems with delivery. For example, if you need a product from, let's say, some farm in Kitale, delivered in Nairobi, who is going to do it? Is it the farmer or some entrepreneur or some businessman? So have we solved the problem? We haven't. For as long as we have three unmet needs of the 3 Fs, I call them, feed, fuel, and food, we shall be having opportunities for businesses. We shall be having opportunities for entrepreneurship.
Feed,
fuel, and food.
Feed, fuel, and food.
Yes.
I can understand the feed part. Feed, fuel, and food.
Yes.
Okay. Just break it down a bit.
Feed.
Yeah.
Animal feed. Very simple. We have to feed our animals, our chicken. We have to feed our animals so that we can get meat, we can get, they can help us. Fuel. Fuel is huge. Fuel does not mean a petrol station. It's even electricity. We have electricity over here. This is fuel. You need fuel for your phone. The battery is fuel. For as long as you're in that business. In fact, if you walked around this town, you have more shops selling phone batteries than those selling, feed, animal feed. Then food. Food is for human consumption.
Absolutely.
Yes. So for as long as we have the unmet needs of feed, fuel, and food, we shall forever be looking at entrepreneurship, at businesses to solve these problems.
Given your experience and expertise in entrepreneurship, Peter, what are the unique challenges for the entrepreneur of 2020?
Number one is the trends. The trends are fast changing. Today you're here, you have a smartphone. Tomorrow you have, I don't know what. I like giving the example of our phone. We came up with a phone that was to receive and make calls, voice only. Within a short while, we had a phone that was doing text, short message service, SMS. Within a very short time, we had a phone that had a camera and internet. Within a short while, we have a phone that is a bank. You can make payments using your cell phone. You can order products and services using your cell phone. So that, say, the changing trends is one of the biggest challenges. Assuming you're stuck with those old phones that were making just voice, you'll be stuck right
Where would we be?
Nowhere.
And the booths.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right now, you can't invest in, say...
telephone booths.
How can you do that? Right now, you can't go buying computers, desktop computers to go and sell. So the changing trends is one of the biggest challenges.
Is cyber cafe still a viable business venture?
For those without smartphones. Still, we have people, yes, you can renew your driving license using your cell phone. You can get into e-citizen using your cell phone, okay? But there are people I know in the matatu sector who cannot renew their license because they don't have the latest smartphone. So they go to the cyber cafe and they say, okay, fine, renew my driver's license, for example. Okay. I want to get NHIF. I want to get 1, 2, 3.
So the cyber operator is the business person.
Yes.
But whoever can come up with a solution to prevent these matatu owners and operators from going to a cyber now becomes an entrepreneur.
Exactly.
You see, I'm learning fast.
Good student.
See, I'm learning fast.
But there are no exams.
No exams. And less practical.
It's practical,
and less practical.
Yes.
So let's also talk about creation of an enabling environment, which largely you've said is the business and prerogative of government. How best do we get this equation right when it comes to an enabling environment?
The answer is very simple. We get the best leaders in government.
Who are leaders?
Leaders are people with ideas that have a following. If your idea has no following,
then you're not a leader.
You're not a leader.
But it could be a viable one.
It has to be viable. Why are people following you?
But is that then the disconnect that we have, Peter?
Yes.
Do we have people who have a huge following, but they do not have a viable idea?
You're right. There are people, we have leaders who buy following. Okay? And sometimes we blame it on the led, the people who are led. You can have very nice leaders out there, but not elected. But still, look at the corporate sector, private sector. Don't we have tenders in private sector?
We do.
But we have less corruption. Ask yourself why. Are we not happy about Safaricom, for example, about KCB, about Equity Bank? Why not with our government services?
Why not get the same model?
Yes.
And get it to government?
Yes.
I'm so tempted to ask you a question on wheelbarrows, but I will not. Because then it becomes political. So I will not ask you that question about wheelbarrows. I'll just move on with this conversation.
But I can answer it. Did anyone ask for the wheelbarrows?
Maybe towards the top of the hour.
Oh, okay.
Towards the top of the hour, we can spare a minute or so and look at the viability of wheelbarrows. But we've spoken about government creating the proper enabling environment. However, even in your capacity, you've been a coach, you've been a mentor, you've been a trainer. What is the importance of having credible and experienced voices for coaches, for trainers, and mentors too, to provide leadership in this particular sector that is entrepreneurship?
You know, in entrepreneurship and anything else, experience is the best teacher. You need to experience it. Good or bad experience.
Yeah.
That is the best teacher. So if you have inexperienced people, then you have the worst teachers.
Or if you have liars.
If you have liars, then you have no headway. So experience is the best teacher. And again, we need people who aspire to inspire. You get? The very best business people, the very best entrepreneurs are the people that are looked up to. People that you would want to sit down for 1 hour, for 2 hours. Not people that this time they're looking for this tender somewhere, and next time they are out of that tender simply because they made a loss or something else, or, you know, they're being followed by...
Entrepreneured their way
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there are people you can sit down with for the whole day. They talk about their business, they talk about their, enterprises and all that. Let's get back to our grandparents. They had wealth. People would have several cows, several goats, and acres of land. Yes, and you would sit down with them. They tell you stories of being patient.
Resilience.
Exactly. God did not create the world in one day. It took him 6 days, and on the 7th day he rested. Nowadays, people don't even rest. Unasikia biashara ni ya usiku.
Lakini si tunataka instant coffee.
Instant coffee.
Nikiweka tu hapa naweza kunywa kinywaji yangu. I mean, if I can have it today, why wait for tomorrow?
That is not the solution. The world is not ending tomorrow. People say life is
a journey
and life is short. It's short for the short-sighted. People have...
I like that.
Yeah, people
it's
have...
the short-sighted.
Yes, people have vision 2030, people have vision 2063. But if you're short-sighted, life is short.
It's interesting how presidents become president, a majority of them.
Yeah.
Like Biden is 77,
and
Trump is 74, and yet you'll hear someone saying, I want to retire early.
Actually, Obama retired at what age?
But he's still working.
Yeah, still working.
He's still working.
Yeah.
We've seen him very active with the campaign trail.
Yes.
And he's very much involved in politics. It's just that you cannot hold some of these positions for the rest of your life. But is that a thinking that we need to address? Because it's sort of, even young people are working with a time frame. That by this time nataka kufanya hivi, alafu nifanye hivi, alafu nifanye hivi. By the time I'm 45, nimeomoka, I'm not working again.
It's good to have a plan. It's good to have a plan. Because if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. So it's always good to have that plan. But that plan, leave it open.
Shouldn't be limited.
Yes. Because if you have it like cast on stone, you'll be burning your fingers. Okay? So the very best is just have a plan, yes. Go as per the plan. If nothing works, no problem. We did know there would be COVID. Okay? But again, look at COVID. There are people who are making money. Forget about the COVID-preneurs. There are people who are making money.
Legit
money. Exactly.
Yeah.
We knew about Zoom because of COVID. We knew about deliveries because of COVID. Online classes because of COVID. So you can have a plan, yes. But then in the plan, you have to have like plan A and B and C, just in case this one doesn't work well.
What of those who argue that if you need a plan B or C, then your thinking around plan A is not exactly concrete and legit?
Would you put all your eggs in one basket?
That's a valid question.
Is that plan B?
Or is it even prudent to carry your eggs in a basket?
Or do you need the eggs in the first place?
Is it prudent? If a basket is not safe enough, is it okay to carry your eggs in a basket?
So what you need to do, you have plan B.
I'm just thinking like an entrepreneur.
You are.
Maybe that's the solution I need to provide.
You need to provide a solution. Basket or no basket? Eggs or no eggs?
Or no eggs.
Maybe you need chicken. Yeah.
Maybe
transport chicken.
Or move closer to the lake and fish.
Yes. Or just have boiled eggs.
That's another
that can't
one.
break.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Previously, illiteracy was defined as the inability to read and write. Validly so, it still is. But with the 21st century, the ability to learn and unlearn and relearn, if you're lacking that, that's 21st century mode of illiteracy. How can we have young people shift their mindset? Because there has been a perception, I don't want to call it a reality, a perception that the minds of the young people are sort of fixated on something so much, at times the ability to unlearn and relearn is missed.
You see, we need to understand that there's a difference between education and training. Most of us get into education. We get into education systems, institutions to get papers.
Yeah.
We forget the training bit. That training bit is the one that determines
where the life skills are.
Exactly. Yeah. And that training is what our forefathers had. Until the colonial masters came over here to tell us that now go get education to work for us, to work for their government. So number one is we need to remember there is always a difference between education and training. We need skills more than the education. How to read and write is basic, but what are you reading? Of what value is it? Yes.
And how
what
are you
skills are you getting? How are you reading it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah.
I'm very sure now viewers are curious to the point of, Nau Jama, what is he doing now with his life? Peter, after the wealth of wisdom that you've shared with us this morning, what are you doing with your life currently?
Currently, I am doing several things. You don't disclose so much. That is a business secret.
Yeah.
But my main concern and my main activity right now is to inspire. Let's get correct, true leadership in business, in government, in civil society, in anything else. Because in so doing, we are going to empower people correctly, especially our young people. If right now you have people talking about unemployment, why can't we create jobs instead of looking for jobs? That is the question that all of us need to answer.
And why is it so hard to achieve this job creation? Because when you interrogate manifestos in this, at least the ones that I can relate with from 2002, 2007, 2013, 2017, we shall create jobs for the youth. We shall create jobs for the youth. Why is it so elusive? Why is it so hard?
You know, there are people who come up with those manifestos to get a job. So they give you what you think you need. They give you a nice manifesto so that you put them in office. After that is done, nothing. Then they give you another one and another one.
But earlier on we said a leader is someone who has an idea with a following.
Yes.
The idea is in the manifesto and it influences the following, right?
Yes.
So whom do we blame here? Is it the idea? Is it the one who comes up with the idea? Or is it the following that refuses to interrogate the idea?
If your idea is to manipulate, we blame you. If your idea is to make someone progress, then you're a good leader. But if your intention is to manipulate, get the crowds following you, get votes, get stuff into the market that is not required. People have been selling sugar, air, for example. You come to Nairobi county government and you are supplying chlorine, not chlorine, chalk and not chlorine. Are you a leader? You're not a leader. In fact, even if you told your kids that, oh, this is what I'm doing, they'll tell you, oh, forget it.
What will become of those stories? You know, earlier on when our parents would tell us, wakati wetu, we did this, this and this. And they produce receipts for it, Peter. When time comes for us to tell the next generation what we were able to do with our lives, what, in your opinion, will become of that conversation?
You know, as they say, nature takes its whatever back.
Course. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So nature will take its course. Right now, we are doing whatever we are doing. You know, COVID, I don't know how it came about, but COVID is a creation. And nature is correcting it. Okay?
Yeah.
All these corrupt deals, all these corruption scandals you're getting to know about, they have, anything you do, there is, for every action, there's a reaction. Okay? But the very best is do your best. I remember I told you that creation is entrepreneurship. God is the first entrepreneur, and he created everything for the good of all, not for the few, not for your family. So whenever you're coming up with a product or a service or an idea, make sure it is for the good of all. Finished.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice way of looking at it. I still am tempted to throw that question on wheelbarrows, but still, sitauliza. You know why, Peter?
No.
It's going to be political now. And our viewers may begin processing everything we've told them from a political point of view. So let's not go there. However, someone wants to know if they want to access you, if they want to talk to you, how can they do it?
Social media or?
Yeah. Any platform that you
Peter
feel free
Ongera.
to give.
Peter Ongera everywhere.
That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
everything. Yeah, Peter Ongera. Or African Homestay. And Buy African, Build Africa. I have another project that stresses on buying African products and services. We don't have to buy things from China.
Are you still doing the homestay thing? And how is that?
Interestingly, I have never hosted. Yes, I have never.
You help others host?
Yes.
But you've never hosted
I
yourself.
have never.
Is it something you're still doing to date? Is it a viable business idea?
Yes, and it has changed into, for example, having refugees into people's homes. Yes, I know it's pinchy, but yes.
There are people who will consider the risk at the end of the day.
All requires vetting.
And how antisocial we are becoming, protective of our spaces.
Exactly.
So how is that working along? I mean,
very simple. There are NGOs, non-governmental organizations that are putting refugees in people's homes using my business model.
So the intention here is to learn the culture or to
learn
integrate them back to society?
Yes, remove those tents and integrate them into society. Haven't you seen some of them in the streets of Nairobi selling bananas?
Yeah, I have.
Where do they come from? Is there a refugee camp near your house?
An entrepreneur must have done his job.
See?
Somewhere, somehow.
Yes.
Yes. I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Peter,
thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure and very insightful having you on the show today. I've been in a position to learn a couple of things. I do hope that you have, right? Especially when it comes to understanding entrepreneurship and the 21st century, where the emerging trends are coming through, the challenges, and what opportunities lie ahead for every entrepreneur out there. Remember, there's a difference between an entrepreneur and a businessman. A businessman sells the product, an entrepreneur creates the product. Thank you so much for watching. Peter Ongere, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
I'm very sure this is not our last interaction. We shall be interacting in the course of time.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching Good Morning Kenya. We are not yet done. Jane Wamboi is coming up with the health item of the day. My name is Samuel Njoroge. Good morning.
KBC, in collaboration with the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, is broadcasting enhanced out-of-class learning on radio, television, and online. Catch the lessons every weekday on KBC Channel 1 from 2 to 4 p.m. on KBC English Service and 15 FM from 9:15 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Radio Taifa from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. KBC English Service, Radio Taifa, and 15 FM are also available countrywide on the free-to-air Signet digital TV platform, or log on to www.kbc.co.ke for live streaming, or download the KBC Online app on Google Play Store. Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, ensuring learning no matter what.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Strange vile tunasikizana sahi.
Feeling poa, si ndio? Inafaa tu maintain hivi. Me at least try.
Me too.
I can't believe it, that pig locked me in here! Francisco!
Scratch her eyes out so that she doesn't go about looking at other women's men. Look at her, just look at her!
You shouldn't lose faith.
Oh my goodness.
El paraíso
In love with Ramon.
Yote ndawai do iko tu sawa kwa macho yako.
Unataka kuwako?
Ati nini? Why are you people shouting?
Are you okay?
Mwanamke ninakuona sana. Ni wanaume hapa Mombasa wameisha.
Ni nini mbaya? Nowadays we have so many unfaithful people.
What?
Need to talk about her every time we are together.
I'd be very careful the way you address me.
Zako zinakuangaje? Huwezi kaa dakika mbili hata bila kuteta.
You will all sign new contracts.
And I am supposed to be briefed.
What? Taki ujinga.
Oof.
Still checking the traffic flow along Likoni Road. Now, actually, where we are checking is this area. This is the Likoni Road, but specifically just as you leave House of Manji from Lungalunga as you head over to Jogoo Road. Now, again, for the benefit of our viewers, just to better understand why we are looking at this specific road this morning, this is why. The ongoing activities. Now, just from what you've seen on our map, this is actually what is leading to that heavy traffic flow there, if I can mention, because of the ongoing works along that specific stretch. As I mentioned to you earlier, Likoni Road begins from this area. Let me just get that image for you. So this is actually where it begins from. As you leave the bypass away from Mombasa Road, and it goes all the way to Jogoo Road. However, it branches off to roads such as Enterprise Road as you head over to the city centre, as well as also Enterprise Road on the other side of General, as you head over to General Motors. Again, as you enjoy in Mombasa Road, branches off as well to Lungalunga Road, which is what you're looking at. And again, it goes all the way to Jogoo Road. So where the expansion is happening, again, just for the benefit of our viewers who may not have caught the fast traffic, is this specific area. So it's not the entire Likoni Road where the expansion process is happening of the project, but it begins from specifically around House of Manji, just as you leave Lungalunga Road, as you head over to Jogoo Road. So this specific stretch is where that expansion process of this road is happening, which is from a single carriage road to a dual carriage road, a project being done by the different bodies designated to help our roads at least look better. And this is how it's coming along. At least the beams have been installed there. So again, it's a project that is expected to take about probably 6 to 8 months. So sometime mid next year is when the completion process, probably, I mean, it's when it will be complete. So this is how actually it's been coming along. And then coming back to our map, that area in which I've just showed you from those images is actually this specific place. As you leave Lungalunga, coming all the way to Jogoo Road. Now, from what you're spotting this morning is actually traffic all through on both lanes. So what that means is that leaving the areas of Donholm, leaving the areas of Lunga Lunga as you come through Likoni Road and joining to Jogoo Road, as well as also leaving the areas that ply Jogoo Road, as well as also Jogoo Road itself, coming again through the same road, Likoni Road, as you join to the other side of Enterprise Road before you come to Uhuru Highway. So this stretch where we are seeing the gridlock is actually where this expansion process is happening, and you can just clearly see just from what you're seeing on our map the kind of traffic being witnessed. So yes, it has matched this traffic, but at least some manageable kind of traffic, and this is because at least some alternative routes have been given. And I'll just give you a few of them. If at all you're coming from Lunga Lunga, if at all you're coming from Donholm, coming probably to the city center, this route is not the best one to use as you leave the roundabout coming all the way to Jogoo. However, you can use still along Likoni Road, branching off to the other side of South B, coming all the way to the city center. This is actually that specific road as you branch off just from that roundabout there. Or alternatively, you can still, if at all, again, you're coming from that area, which is around Lunga Lunga as well, coming from Donholm, using Likoni, still through the roundabout, you can use Enterprise Road, which will join you all the way to Uhuru Highway on the other side. Now, this is how Enterprise Road looks like. So you can just see from our map, it's clear ways, green all through as you're leaving Uhuru Highway, coming through the road, through the roundabout, as well as also just leaving the roundabout, going to the other side of Enterprise Road. So these routes can serve as better alternative routes if at all you're going to the city center, because past the roundabout on the other side of Jogoo Road, it's really unbearable, and we've just seen that from our map. And also, if you're coming from Mombasa Road, you can use this Likoni Road as an alternative route, but you wouldn't need to go all the way through Jogoo. You can still again branch off to the other side of South B next to Plainsview Estate, branching off, coming off there to the city center, or alternatively again, you can still use Enterprise Road, because then again, also around the roundabouts, still there's traffic. Also, around this roundabout is where, again, there's still ongoing works, which is the construction of the overpass, still, again, ongoing. So clearly, this just makes Likoni Road one of those, if I can mention, in terms of activities, busy, given the fact that, yes, there's the overpass, and as well as also the expansion process. Also, looking at this roundabout, this is the Likoni Enterprise Road roundabout. There's the Likoni Lunga Lunga roundabout, as well as the Likoni Jogoo roundabout. Just coming a bit to this roundabout, this is the one that branches off to Enterprise Road as you head over to General Motors, connecting to Mombasa Road, as well as also still using Enterprise Road, going to the other side of City Center. So clearly, again, one of those busy roundabouts as it connects to this roads that I've just mentioned. But when it comes to traffic, it doesn't really look that bad. But in as much as yes, it doesn't really look that bad. When you come to this stretch of leaving just Enterprise, coming all the way from General Motors, look like on that stretch is just where traffic is moving at a really, really slow pace. But then again, also this comes all the way from GM. So which also serves as another alternative route for those plying Mombasa Road, heading over to the city center. When you come to the other side, yes, in as much as there's traffic, but at least a manageable kind of traffic on that specific stretch. So this is how it's looking like on that first roundabout, still along Likoni Road. There's another roundabout, which is again around Likoni Lunga Lunga Road, and this is that specific one. So look at how this one is doing in terms of traffic, heavy kind of traffic. Also because around this area, just next to industrial area, so in terms of activities, also quite a number of them. We have the business structures here, companies, industries, as well as also just some small-scale business traders, especially along this specific route. So again, also that could be the reason as to why we are witnessing or seeing the kind of traffic that we are seeing. But the beauty of that is that this is actually traffic only on a specific lane as you leave the roundabout, heading to the other side of Lunga Lunga Road. When you come to this stretch, at least it's clear ways, no traffic at all, moving at a really fast pace there. So that's how it's looking like in terms of traffic. Looks like things are not changing at all, especially in that stretch where that expansion process is happening. But then again, this is one of those roads where we'll continue to keep tabs on, at least until that particular time in which they've mentioned when this whole process will come to complete. But at least as of now, this is how it's looking like in terms of traffic along Likoni Road.
welcome and thank you for staying with us. We now want to get into our health discussion for the day. And as I had mentioned earlier on in the intro, today's discussion is going to be a rather sensitive discussion, an uncomfortable for some, but unnecessary discussion. We are going to be talking about post-miscarriage care, just trying to understand what goes into a miscarriage and how we can care for ladies who have gone through this very dark, very emotionally upsetting phase, and how we can help them recover. And this also involves our brothers who have partners that have gone through this, or couples that have gone through this together. So this discussion is definitely for you. Questions, comments, clarifications are thoroughly welcome. We have two guests with us in studio this morning to help us better understand this conversation around miscarriages and how we can normalize a comfortable space for persons who have gone through this experience. Now, to help us with this conversation in studio, we have one lady with us. She is Jane Njagi, who is a counselor and has also had an interaction with a miscarriage. Karibu sana, Jane.
You're most welcome. Thank you.
And also joining us via Zoom, we have Joseph Mungai, who is a clinical officer as well as a gynecologist. Karibu sana, Joseph.
Thank you, Sana.
All right, there you go. Those are
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Thank you for being with us. Those are our two guests for this particular discussion. And remember, you can also talk to us using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. At KBC Channel 1 is the official station handle. My handle is at Jane Wamboi. I will be going through your feedback in not too long. But let me start with you, Jane. When you talk about miscarriages in this day and time, why do you think it is still such a taboo to have this conversation in open spaces where persons who have gone through this can feel safe enough to talk about them?
That's great. Miscarriage, it's not easily acceptable in maybe our culture. People have associated it with so many issues. Maybe there's something you didn't do, or maybe that is what you did.
Yes.
And because of all what it's in it, and that desire, you remember that time when you conceived, it is registered in your brain that you're going to have a child. So that anxiety, all of a sudden, you miss it. It becomes devastating, both to the mother and the father.
Yeah. All right. Let me come to you, Joseph, from a medical point of things. Just help us better understand, when you talk about miscarriages, what does it really entail? Because many a times we confuse it for other procedures when it comes to medically speaking. So help us better understand what that really entails.
So thank you very much, Jane. A bit of correction. My name is Francis Mungai, a medical officer. And as you say, that miscarriage is a very controversial issue. There's so many factors surrounding with it, and so much campaign going around miscarriages, and even the term that we normally used to give to the term miscarriage. Medically, a miscarriage, we refer it to as an abortion. Basically, abortion is not, abortion in the layman, people take it to mean the termination, the deliberate termination of a pregnancy. But when it comes to the medical field, it's called an abortion, which basically refers to the medical field, which basically refers to the termination of pregnancy.
All right, we'll be getting back to Joseph right there. Let us quickly sort out a few uplink challenges there, but we'll be getting back to you with this whole conversation about, the terminology and the scientific meaning of what miscarriages really do entail. But let me come back to you, Jane. Just briefly tell us a bit about your experience with miscarriages and how that was for you during that space.
Yes, I also experienced a miscarriage. That time I was not a counselor, so I also didn't know how to handle it at that time. And I was involved in the church activities whereby I was a church leader.
Yes.
So during that time, I didn't know whom I was to call to. And surprisingly, the people who came to see me even from the church, kind of, they didn't know how to identify with me throughout that process. And one of them said, now that you are the one who encourage us, how then are we going to support you? So I realized that I was the source of their help. So immediately I had now to sit on my seat, whereby I began encouraging.
Okay.
So it is well, and I was there for them, but they didn't know what I was going through.
In as much as it was you who went through that.
Yes.
Now, looking at your experience, what do you think, and this is also something that could relate with other ladies out there who have gone through this, what is the hardest part about post-miscarriage, immediately post that experience? What is the hardest bit from what you have seen as an individual and also interacting with other people when you're offering your counseling sessions?
It's so unfortunate that most people do not understand. Yes, from the medical ground, people understand you. But remember, when you are out there, they do not understand where you are coming from.
Yes.
They also have their own imaginations, their own feelings about the whole thing. At this time, you have also not come in terms with the rose. Remember, this is a rose. It is a miscarriage, just the way a person would experience death of a child. It's only that now this one is unborn. So they experience the same pain.
Yes.
And that is very painful. When this person is going through these painful sessions,
yes,
people do not understand them. So they do not understand it. They are grieving. Actually, they are in their grieving process. And sometimes it can take long if these people were never supported. I have realized that some people get fixated when they have gone through that. And you see also the way the letters are written to you, that it was an abortion. And especially if you are working or maybe you are insured, the way it is written by the doctors, the other common man may not understand that language. And it's like abortion. So when that question comes into their mind, the abortion, they look at you and it's like they may not understand exactly what is happening.
Yes.
So some will even judge you. What did you do for you to have had this? Maybe you did, you did not carry yourself well when you are a girl. Maybe you did other abortions. And all those things in people's mind. Now, because you know how maybe you have also been judging others, and people begins to judge you with the same measure, then people are not able to take that up.
Now, from what you have seen when you're talking just with your clients, looking at the emotional trauma that comes after going through such an experience, would you say that that is one of the areas that is most misunderstood by people who surround ladies who have gone through this experience when it comes to offering care and support?
Yes, it is. People actually don't know how to handle it. And they don't know how to handle the person who has gone through the loss. More so to men. Women will come and maybe, I'm very sorry. Sorry does not help because you are not the one who caused it. So when you tell somebody, I'm sorry for what has happened, it's like you handing some more pain to this person. So when people goes there to the women and all that, men are out of that house. So them, nobody is comforting them. So he comes back home after 2 days, he's drunk. Maybe he was not drinking. What caused this? The psychological effect, the hurting, the grieving, but nobody is understanding. So if maybe you talk with other people, the people or members of the family, they'll come in and they say it's like, you know what? You cannot continue with a woman who cannot give birth. So you have to get to another woman who is going to help you give birth.
Okay.
So you realize that that first marriage, especially if you happen to have the first miscarriage, the second one, and it's like there is a problem with this person.
Yes.
So they may not understand. And so if the man also is not empowered when this woman is going through this, it creates a lot of pain, separation, and there are so many psychological effects that goes with it.
Now, at that point, I'd just like to hear from you on how we can bring our gentlemen on board when it comes to this whole conversation about miscarriages, because many a times, and you know, traditionally it has always been the lady's role. It is when there's a miscarriage, the blame is on the lady. The gents are spared to some extent, but bringing it into the conversation in a way that they are present and are able to understand what the lady may be going through, how can we help them get to a point where they at least have an idea of how they can be helpful to their partner or a sister or a mother, a lady who they know that has gone through this?
That's very nice, Jane. It is important for the family members, the friends, to consider that the man is also going through the similar loss. And not just to talk against the person who has gone through maybe this kind of a misfortune, but to be there for the man as much as you are there for the woman. Don't pull the man aside and say it's like you made a wrong choice. You cannot move on like this. Maybe when we are getting married, we also do not get married because of children. We get married because of companionship. Children comes along the way, because you can also get married and there you are. You don't have children.
Yes.
So miscarriage can also be one of the factors why you missed the children. So if you got married because of the children, now that one remains a problem.
Okay. That in there is already a hindrance, and just a wall you have put up.
Yes. Remember when people are getting married, it's like, when are you giving me my grandchild? When are you giving us? I want to be an aunt. I want this and the other. So that wanting when you're getting married, it is in your mind. Then the person conceives and you are very high with joy and all that. And people at life, they are celebrating. Equal celebration with the lady.
Now, this pressure that comes from a family also contributes to the hard nature of the recovery process.
Yes. And I always say that maybe when one has gone through such an emotional thing, please go for counseling, the two of you. That is the husband and the woman. Those people need the support.
All right. Now, we are now joined back by Dr. Joseph Mungai, who's joining us via Zoom. Karibu back, Joseph. We're glad you are back with us. Now, just to pick up from where you left off in regards to helping us better understand what a miscarriage is at least medically speaking. All right. Don't worry. This is part of live TV. All this happens, but we will be back with him. Can you hear me now, Joseph?
Yeah, I can get you well.
Awesome. Just pick up from where you left off in regards to helping us understand the medical definition of what a miscarriage is.
Can you get me? As I said earlier on, any termination of pregnancy before the viability of the fetus, a miscarriage or early pregnancy failure, or what we call the abortion medically. The loss of pregnancy can either be induced or it can be spontaneous. Broadly speaking, or in this day, in relation to the case of Jane, hers was a spontaneous loss of pregnancy, which happened before her fetus was viable enough or was mature enough to live outside the mother. And the causes of such loss of pregnancies, there are many. In most instances, they are not known. You cannot know. And the incidences may reach for up to 20% of clinically confirmed pregnancies. That is, you have done a pregnancy test, it has turned positive, or you have done an obstetric ultrasound, it has proved that you are pregnant, up to 20% of those case of 1 in every 5 come out. Someone, it's not that person is about 50% of them are due to chromosomal.
All right, we seem to still be experiencing some bit of uplink challenges in regards to getting that Zoom feed, but we'll still try to make sure that we're able to get a stable link and involve Dr. in this conversation, just to hear from him as a gynecologist and a clinical officer, the medical bits of this whole conversation about miscarriages, getting to know the scientific foundation when it comes to this conversation, and how you can take care of yourself to make sure that your health is not compromised post miscarriage. Now, let's get back to what you were telling us, Jane, in regards to this whole conversation being normalized in society. As it is traditionally, we are told when you get married, it is supposed to procreate, and it's even biblical. When two people come together, fill the earth. But we get to a point where it has become the only sort of the anchoring piece of any marriage in this day and time, and thus so much pressure is put on these two couples. Now, when it comes to dealing with this as a couple, and even before you get to this situation where this very sad situation may happen, what would be your advice to couples before they get married and have the importance of having conversations about children?
Thank you very much for that question. Personally, I encourage people to go for premarital counseling. Mm-hmm. And maybe because of, maybe also what I have, like having a miscarriage, it has made me a better counselor too.
Yes.
It has also helped me to see the loopholes whereby people can miss it. Mm-hmm. And for people who are actually aspiring to marry, sometimes people don't see the need of going for counseling.
Yes.
The reason being they are happy. Somebody told you that you are loved. And once you are loved, you feel you're on top of the world. Mm-hmm. So you don't see anything else. But this is a journey that you have never gone before. This is a journey you are beginning. Actually, in marriage, you are given a certificate when you have not qualified. And that journey, it's not easy. So it is to be qualified when you have the certificate with you. Mm-hmm. And when you're in it, there are challenges. And there's no marriage which has got a map that you have to do this or you have to go through this. Apart from what we have in the society.
Yes.
This is what is expected of us. Now that which is expected of you by the society, it's the one which is killing the marriages. Mm-hmm. So we go in with that expectation. You don't go for counseling. I'm not against the pastor, I'm a believer. But it's also good for the church to allow the members to go through premarital counseling by a profession.
Okay. Now, let's now talk about the actual post-miscarriage care. And this is more so from a counselor's point of view, looking at the emotional, psychological state of being. The first stage of the recovery process is mostly, as from what I have seen from the pieces that I was reading about, is the whole issue of acceptance. Yeah. Now, I found that this is also an area that so many people struggle with, living in denial, wanting the reality to not be the reality. But why is it important to start by accepting in order to open that channel of recovery?
Actually, these people are not refusing to be open or to own it up.
Yeah.
It's because they have not found somebody to help them own it up.
Okay.
It is like when you have lost a child, you have given birth, you have seen a child, and then people will come and try to support you because they have also seen the baby. Mm-hmm. Now, in miscarriage, they didn't see the baby.
Okay.
They only saw that you are carrying a baby. Now, the question is, why are you affected? Now, even you don't know what you are carrying.
So should acceptance really be the first stage of the recovery process?
Yes. It is the acceptance.
Okay.
But people do not help the particular person to go through that process of acceptance.
By always sharing their opinions.
Remember, it is your child, but they are calling it a thing.
Or it.
Yes.
Okay.
So that time, you knew that I was having a baby. But people have already baptized your baby to be a thing.
Okay.
And that one, it creates a psychological effect. You feel that you don't want to talk to them anymore because they have already put a barrier. So they have given you another work before you accept it was a thing. A thing? What they mean by a thing? This was my baby. So if this person come to realize that it was a baby, or the other people realize that it is a baby, yes, you have lost your baby. And then you move from there. Okay. This person will be able to accept, and the person you begin. Remember, some of them even they had bought clothes to give it to the baby. Then all of a sudden, there is nothing.
There is no baby.
Remember yourself, the tummy was already very big. You had already changed your attire. So you miscarriage, the tummy remains big, but there is nothing to show.
Now, after a lady and a couple, for that matter, has managed to come to terms with the situation, or some sense of coming to terms with the situation, what should be the next step in the recovery process?
When they accept that, yes, they have lost the baby, and they are supported psychologically, that is the time that the family needs to be united. The family affected needs to be united. When they are together, they are able to process it faster. But when they have other people who are bringing in their own views apart from what they are going through, then it can bring complication during the healing process.
Okay. Now, I want to just rope in Daktari again and just try and look at this whole recovery process from both the emotional and the psychological point of things with Jane here in studio. And now Daktari just coming in with the medical point of things when it comes to the recovery process. Immediately after this process has happened, a miscarriage has happened, looking at the recovery process, what should be the first steps that a lady or a couple need to take, medically speaking, to just make sure that things don't go south?
Yeah, the very first thing, they come to seek medical attention, either due to bleeding, or it can due to effects of excessive bleeding. That is our is to try and stabilize the patient, to stop the bleeding, and to evacuate any product of contraception that might have remained. You might have expelled the fetus, but the membranes or the placenta might have remained. And that could be the thing causing the bleeding. So the very first thing we do to these women is to stop the bleeding. Then the other thing is we want to give them antibiotics to prevent infection. We give them analgesics so that we can be able to control pain in them. And then we'll go further ahead and try to find out what could have led to the loss of the pregnancy. And if not that, we're also going to screen the mother for other issues that will help us prevent a recurrence of the loss of the pregnancy. So further things, we'll be doing the blood sugar test. Others will be doing the thyroid function test. These are the diseases that mainly cause the spontaneous loss of pregnancies in women. And the other thing that in our management, we do want to look at them the moment we come in contact with the mother. We also want to look at the rhesus of the mother, and if the mother is rhesus negative, we will give the mother anti-D to prevent and try to protect future pregnancies. Besides that, so I have said that the first thing is to do the medical management of the pregnancy. The first part will be to tackle the thing that can kill the mother. The mother has lost a baby, and our main goal is now to protect the life of the mother. And after protecting the life of the mother, preserving the life of the mother, the next goal will be to try and find out, can we find the cause of what led to the spontaneous loss of the pregnancy so that we can prevent a recurrence of the same. The other thing I've said is we are going to prevent or protect future pregnancies. We think things like the rhesus factor might affect future pregnancies. And that is why we want to look at them. And also in the part of the initial management, we want to see how much blood the mother has lost and try to replenish. Once you are done with the medical treatment, there's the counseling part of it. is part of the post-abortion care. The counseling part of it, we are talking of a woman who has lost a baby. To us, it may be a thing, but to her, it's a baby that the woman had started forming connection with and was bonding with. So this woman is going the normal process of grief. The woman at first will be in denial whether she has actually lost it or it is still there. So you have to appreciate, she might be in denial. Soon she might go into anger. Why did this thing have to happen to me? What did I do? Did I do anything that caused it, or is there anything that I could have done to try and preserve the pregnancy? So there is anger, there is the bargain. Probably they start coming to terms. Probably it's God's will that this thing happened. Then from there they might go into depression. Why it happened to them? Wondering their value in this life, more so as women in our culture. Then finally they might go into acceptance. So of the 5 stages of grief, we have to appreciate that there are people, these are women who are grieving, and we have to take them through. We have to look at their emotional feelings and try to see where they are. We have to look at their guilt. Some of them beat themselves. These are things that are beyond their control. So we have to let them know that these are things that are beyond them. We have said that the majority cause of spontaneous loss of pregnancies are chromosomal abnormalities. That is something that a woman cannot do anything. And if it is a chronic disease that is not well controlled, that one we can manage. So I've talked of management. The other thing is counseling. After counseling, we have to let this woman know that her fertility returns as soon as the loss of the pregnancy is over. So within 2 weeks, her fertility will be back. Another thing we want to look now, the other thing that we really look at these women is try and see. First, we normally encourage that once you have lost a pregnancy, give yourself some time to allow your uterus to heal. What is normally recommended is at least 1 complete menstrual cycle for you to be able to try now start looking for a baby. But ideally in our setting, we encourage them to wait for at least 6 months so that before they start thinking of conceiving again, so that they don't do the subsequent pregnancy. So the third thing in the management of such a mother will be about family planning. And the WHO guides any form of family planning. You can use the oral pills, you can use the implants, you can use the intrauterine devices. All you have to do, if you are to use the intrauterine devices, you have to ensure that if there was any infection, it is well managed. Or else, and you have to ensure that all the products of conception have first come out before you insert the IUCD. So after doing the treatment, you have done the counseling. The third thing is I've talked about family planning. After that one, you have to link this mother with other reproductive health related management. This is a mother who has come to you. And as doctors, we talk of once you see a patient, assume that patient, you might never see that patient again. So we also go ahead and screen them for other things that are associated with reproduction. We look for diseases like syphilis, that is first exposure. Besides that, we go ahead and screen for cancer of the cervix, the cancer of the breast, that is other reproductive health related issues. And finally, there's something we call the community involvement or the community re-entry. One thing, the first community is the husband. You see the mother and you deal with the mother because it's the mother that presents to us. But also the husband is the father of this baby. He is equally grieving and is equally going through the same process. So the first thing, you have to involve the father in the counseling sessions. And once you're done with the counseling sessions of the father, there are also other issues. You really want to go ahead and tell the community what spontaneous loss of pregnancy is so that they don't accuse the woman. Remember, some of them, they already have tummies that are starting to protrude. So the moment all of a sudden you see them, they have a flat pant, a flat tummy, they don't have a chance of explaining to you what happened. You may not, and you don't appreciate the grief that they are going through. You may want to educate the community what happens in such scenarios. And it is not an illegal thing for a mother to lose the pregnancy in a manner that she does not have control over. Besides, you also want to go and educate the community on issues with pregnancy, on issues on seeking health care early enough, on issues with contraception. Besides these spontaneous, another very big burden we have are the induced pregnancies. And most of those induced pregnancies will take place because the girl or the lady didn't want that pregnancy in the beginning. So if we have a way of educating the mothers and letting them control their conception, it will go a long way in preventing the induced abortions or even the spontaneous abortions. So the post-abortion care
to wind this conversation
is divided in those 5. That is immediate treatment of the emergency, then
all right, we'll be getting back with you in a minute, but let me just rope in Jane before we get to wind up. We're almost out of time. Dr. Ian has mentioned the whole aspect of community and the role that it has to play when it comes to educating the community to know how to go about talking to a lady or a couple that has experienced a miscarriage, dealing with the issue of stigmatization from a community level. How can we go about that?
Yes, I feel that is a responsibility for all of us, just like what we are doing. I still feel we are sending signals to people and creating awareness on it. You don't have to stigmatize people because of miscarriage.
Yes.
When Dr. was talking, he has kept on using the word abortion. You know what it means. So the community need to understand that even when that word is mentioned, abortion, it is not that necessary for you to go and induce for you to have that pregnancy out. But it's a medical terminology used. So when the community get to understand some of these things,
yes,
they will not be able to blame the other people. However, I also know that there is that abortion that people did want to terminate the pregnancy. That one is different, but it also has its own effects.
Okay.
The psychological with the community and even as an individual, they suffer a lot afterwards.
All right. Now, let me come back to you, Dr. We're almost out of time, but briefly, maybe in a minute or so, what will be your closing remarks when it comes to this conversation about post-miscarriage care, why it is important to seek medical attention after you've had a spontaneous or an incomplete miscarriage for that matter?
Yeah, why you need to seek medical attention, first of all, is to ensure the process of abortion or miscarriage is complete, so that you don't lose a lot of blood. The moment you lose a lot of blood, it becomes handing now after the woman's life. So you have to ensure that all bleeding is over. You have to control any form of infection to the uterus, because it might have some effect in subsequent pregnancies. Then we give you family planning, and we will help you in counseling processes and help you integrate into the society.
All right. Thank you for that. We will definitely be getting back with you for another day to just continue with this discussion, because we are short on time and we cannot fully exhaust this conversation in this one sitting. But coming to you, Jenny, your parting remarks when it comes to also seeking counseling post a miscarriage, either as the lady or as a couple, and why it is important in the recovery journey.
First and foremost, I would request the men to accept that yes, we have gone through this process of loss as a family. Now, before you go to ask for support from outside, get it from within.
Okay.
Number two, those people who are coming to encourage people, or maybe just to bring them some fellowship because of what has happened, let them not become judgmental. It is important for them to listen to these people, what they are going through, their expectations and all that.
Okay.
Allow the couple to mourn as a couple. So it is also important for men to allow themselves to go through counseling with their wives, because they also never expected to go through that kind of a scenario.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a bad experience for the two of them. So let them allow themselves to go for that counseling.
Okay. All right, I think with that we'll just have to put a full stop for at least for today's program in regards to this conversation, but we are definitely going to pick it up. I have seen some of your feedback and we are definitely going to be addressing them in the next part in regards to this conversation. Keep sending them through. I will be sure to start with them the next time we were picking up this conversation, but for now we have to bring it to a close. We have been looking at miscarriages and just looking at how you can care for a lady or help that couple that is going through this have an easier time. In helping us with this discussion, we have been speaking with Jane Njagi, who is a counselor, and of course Joseph Mungai, who is a gynecologist as well as a clinical officer. Thank you so much, lady and gent, for being with us this morning and helping shed more insight in regards to this conversation. But for now, we put a cap on the matters Good Morning Kenya. But be sure to join us again tomorrow right here on Good Morning Kenya as we keep you up to date on what is happening in Kenya, in the region, and the world over. On behalf of the entire crew, do have a lovely day. God bless. See you tomorrow. I'm Jane Wambui.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
He is Devadatt's disciple and the tax collector of Takshashila. I do not think that Minister Kalatak had even thought about the severity of the situation.
Such a betrayal is unforgivable.
Please give me one chance to prove that I am worthy of being your son.
Going to Takshashila is no less than committing suicide.
Nobody can harm me.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
What you came here to?
I came here to make you see that you're walking in the wrong direction. I care for you.
It's your job to make sure he finds his balance. I can't do anything about that.
Can't or won't.
Unaama? Kuna base fulani nimeketa hapa karibu sifana hapa lakini at least kwa bit better.
Anjala alikama umemwona?
He's looking good. Don't you know? He's back.
Wait, he's back?
Yeah.
Embakasi Utawala tuko locked. Ungem Utanyahururu Kasuku Massive.
Jeshi ya Nyeri, Maua, Nakuru wako locked mbaya.
Kigumo Ward na ambao wote wako ndani ya KBC Channel 1.
Akulaliki Wednesday bila the ref.
Mbotela Auta Idara Kitengela.
Kiambu County 33 Pipeline Meru anawakilisha.
Rongai Maboksa pale go down. Karatina Auta Mlolongo wana enjoy show. Lare Sub County Auta Githurai 45. Lanet Barracks tuko ndani yake. Okongo Auta Carnation Maragwa Seti Nairobi.
Thika wako locked mbaya sana.
Watu wangu wa Nakuru Ungwaro.
Auta Gilgil live kutoka Mazeras Bahati Massive. Embo Thika Massive. Siaya Shikambi Kakamega Bungoma County.
Kusia Boda Kisumu City. Malindi yote iko ndani ya the ref.
When I'm in Kenya, I tune in to the rave. Get your mind brave, focus, conscious.
Kenya,
East Africa.
Right.
Keep it locked.
Calling out to every
I am Lydia Mugura, aged 22, and I am an animator. For those who don't get, I just make cartoons. I've been studying it for 4 years at Kenyatta University, alongside other camera courses. And now I'm working on Kenya's first 3D animated spy series called Agent 254. Check it out next year. I've always loved cartoons. So when I was in Form 2, that's the time the first fiber animation came out. And I realized that's available in Kenya. So even if it's a bit hard, it's what I want to do, so I can just try it out. So immediately I got out, I had already studied art in high school. So I decided, what else can I do to add to that? I looked up skills. The programs were expensive as hell, but there were freeware called like Blender. And the school offers minimal, but training in the program anyway. So I just started out. What I could not learn in school, I learned from the great school of YouTube. What I could not practice, I used to hire out the computer labs to test things out. Then you just grow little by little until you become a professional. There was one spy series a long time ago we've all forgotten, but that's actually the inspiration behind it. Agent 254 follows the adventures of 3 high schoolers, Jay, Safi, and Kiai, as they discover new tech and battle the evils in Nairobi. Also Mombasa, Kisumu, it's set around the country. Each episode has a different location, different theme, and each of the kids have unique powers. To keep up with the current trends, as these days we have photorealism, we decided the only thing we can do for now with our current tech is just keep up with the programs and the animation styles. We chose a highly cartoonish style. Like, you can tell this is a person, but it's very exaggerated. A highly cartoonish style that we can basically merge into our own. We know how the way Disney has its look, anime has its look. We want to develop our own unique Kenyan look. So that's what we are hoping we have accomplished. We're hoping we've gotten it. That maybe some people, if people copy our style, it will become a Kenyan style. To keep up, you just have to maintain, you have to keep upgrading. When we started out this series, Blender, the program that we use, it's open source and free, was at 2.72, and now it's at 2.8. 2.72 and 2.8 are very different. One thing, 2.8, even the materials and the textures and everything used to color are not the same. The way you rigging is basically, how do I put it? You give bones to the characters you have. The rigging mechanisms are not the same from the ones that are past and the ones that are now. So it's a constant learning curve. You have to keep updating yourself. If you take a break for even like a month, you can be seriously left behind. And once you're left behind, getting back on that horse is a lot of work. And the work we do is fun to look at. But animation is a very strenuous and exhausting job. So if you stop, there's a very high chance you won't start again. So you just have to keep pushing yourself, give yourself psych and the like. Yeah. The pilot we've tested, we've sent it out. It's what is taking us to Johannesburg as of November 18th, where we are hoping to sell our series to either a local distributor and an international distributor. So far there are a couple of interesting parties, but I'm not allowed to disclose them, I'm sorry. But you will see a bit of the series. Because we are the finalists in Animation du Monde, which is an animation competition that travels around Africa. Us, we'll be representing East Africa, so wish us luck. And we really hope we win, but we also hope to get the main thing is get a buyer, but we would also like to win. Winning it will be great, but I'm not going to ask for more. I think things have come well, I'm not going to ask for any more. So let's just get a buyer. So far, at last, the government is interested in us, especially with the hype around the gaming industry in Kenya. So the future is pretty bright. If I follow my own project, we hope Agent 254 itself, each finale will be a movie. So we hope the series is 3 seasons long. So we hope by season 3 we'll have had 3 animated movies out that are based in Kenya. From that alone, we have spin-offs and a couple of spin-offs. And we also want to develop like a Kenyan Disney princess. Our future is bright, definitely bright, but the way is a steep mountain. animators who are starting out, I know the road is difficult and you don't even know where to start. First of all, just work with what you can. I know there's a lot of things that you think you should take on. You're seeing the industry and how everyone is, like, let's take the Lion King, things are hyper-realism and you're still probably working on your first cube. Just take it slow, work at your own pace, and never accept anything less than what you're actually worth. Then you shall be great.